Hello everyone, welcome back to another stream. Hope you're doing well as always. Quasi Dingo, welcome on in. So, I forgot to set up my stream early, so that was a little bit of a mistake on my part. So people may not have gotten notifications. So, my mistake. Yesterday on stream, we finished up looking at the odds and ends in Weeping Peninsula, getting like the Ashes of Lutel. Then we went through a little bit of Limgrave and started to progress through Stormveil Castle. We did the things with Gastok. I got the Godslayer seal, but I haven't gone towards the dining hall to deal with the grafted scion there. And there was something else I wanted to explore. I guess the Divine Tower. I thought there was something else right before doing Godfrey that I forgot, but I can't remember. I know Elodelia left me a comment on my last video, but I was a little bit pressed for time, having forgotten to set up the stream earlier. So, all right, we got a Bolt Drake Talisman. Konska, Mortis, nice to have both of you guys in. All right, so as we come up towards this Divine Tower, I'm not going to go into it yet because I'm pretty confident I can't. I'm just going to get the treasure that's in this version of the game, because I know there's nothing in 1.0 around here. And these ones should be a lot easier to deal with than the Lane Dell Golem. I was afraid of the bow. Okay, yeah, it's a lot easier to deal with. I couldn't see that one go. So I'm going to leave the melee golem for now. Oh, he hit the thing. Run away! Fire breath. He's cheating. Oh god. Alright. Hey Jordo and Rat, nice to see you. You like the golems as poise breaking teachers? I should probably just not do that and do this. That's terrible. I guess I do a lot more damage with the viscerals than I thought. Alright. Now I can fight this dude normally. Got stuck on him. This is gonna hurt. Hey Enter Y, how's it going? And Elodelia, nice to see you again. I missed your comments on my last video. I saw it earlier, but I didn't double check it before this stream. I did a bit of a goof. Right. Are the golems guarding the Divine Tower on behalf of the Golden Order? It seems that way, but it also just kind of seems like they're guarding the Divine Towers in general. They kind of show up in some pretty strange locations, like one outside the Ansel Riverwell, for whatever reason. There's also one by the Colosseum. So I figure they may have been assimilated into the forces of the Golden Order, but that might not have been their original purpose. Can you use Torrent here? I didn't think so. That would have made it a lot easier to deal with the Archer Golem. So yeah, in 1.0, there was no treasure down here. But the teleporter was all the way down here for some reason. Soft cotton. And the Ashavor scarab. Okay. I remembered the thing down here wasn't entirely trivial. But to be honest, I've never really used that one. Hey, Happy Hep. How's it going? So this is on PS5. Because I don't want to like overload the resources on my PC with streaming and having the game going at the same time. Like my PC is pretty decent, but not like beefy enough to run all of this stuff maxed out and whatnot. And then Dylan Vickers, nice to see you. This is your first stream? Just caught it after watching one of my videos for the first time? After seeing me cited by every other Souls tuber? Well, thank you. Welcome on in. So, you said you watched one of my videos? If you don't mind me asking which one, so that way I get like a little bit of a reference of what you know of my work. Because it is helpful to know that if people aren't familiar with my stuff, I can go into more depth when I talk about the things that I'm looking at with the lore. And then, hey, Levo, how's it going? It's going pretty decently so far. Only spent a little extra time on the Tree Sentinel and the ulcerated tree spirits and the grafted scions in the Fringe Folk ruins. Chat's misaligned on screen. Oh yeah, I'm reading the wrong one. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hi, puppy. Oh yeah. So like I said, I can't enter the Divine Tower yet because we haven't beaten Godrick. I thought that I would be able to at least go in a little bit and get the, not Site of Grace. Well, yeah, no, the Site of Grace. I almost called it a bonfire and then mentally corrected the Site of Grace. And then thought I was still wrong. There we go. Should probably heal just to be safe. So these Stormhawks aren't grafted by the Divine Tower. Hey, Black Man, nice to see you again. You had no idea you could go down there? Yeah, in 1.0, there was no treasure down there, but that's where the warp gate was. And without horns, nice to see you again. You love the one outside the Castle Morn? The one in Weeping Peninsula? Kitchen or down to see Godwin? Okay, Godwin was the thing that I was forgetting. Thank you. That probably would have happened regardless. Because I remembered the kitchen for the grafted scion. Okay. So there's nothing else really here until we can get our benediction. So the next time we come through here, I'll just run past all the golems. I just wanted to get the treasure. I thought there was a Site of Grace outside of here, but apparently not. It's the one on the inside next to the fingers themselves. So if I want to go to the kitchen nuts, I think I'm just going to go to the Rampart Tower and then drop down that way. All right, you saw everything about the Crucible before the DLC one. Okay, so got it. Yeah, that one was pretty rough because I was working on the script for it, obviously before the DLC came out, and then I was hearing word on the grapevine that people were going to start releasing a lot of more information about it. So I'm like, ah, crap, I have to pull the trigger pretty much on what I already had. Because I would have made it more robust, talking about things like the Great Tree and all that stuff. So, all right. Got it. You know very little of my lore theories, it seems, which is perfectly fine. So we did pick up our Ash of War Scarab, and I think we picked up something else, but I don't remember. Be faster to do it this way. Oh yeah, the Bolt Drake Talisman. I don't think I read these yet. Wait, where's the scarab? Am I blind? Or was it a specific Ash of War and I wasn't paying attention? No, because it was... Oh, duh, that's a helmet. I forget about that. Right. Did I see the official Bandai Namco The Story So Far video? Yeah, Corn. We were actually joking about it on a creator Discord that it looked very reminiscent of some of our contest trailers because V-Limit had almost identical transitions with the like ink paint stuff. And then Mao, nice to see you again. Dylan loves Quaylag, so Rough and Rambly are your favorite. You loved it and clicked the channel to watch more when you saw that I went live. Okay, that's cool. So if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I've actually, over the past like half a year or so, I've been checking out a lot of other content creators' content on stream and giving my stream of consciousness thoughts on their theories as they go by. So I've reacted to, I think, 3 videos by Quaylag so far on the stream if you're ever interested in checking those out. Thank you guys for telling me it's the helmet. Why does Radagon not talk? Because he's a puppet, bro. He's not ventriloquist. What's the other one? Marionette? No. Mannequin? No. A dummy. Ventriloquist dummy? Isn't there a better word for that? Is it just dummy? I'm drawing a blank. So Korn says, in the video, they stated that Marika shattered the Elden Ring and then gave the Great Runes to the demigod children. You always thought the shattering was after she'd given the runes out? So I never really had that impression. My impression was pretty much what the video had stated, that once the ring was shattered, the demigods gathered the fragments and gained power that way. So... marionettes, close enough. Don't say that about Champion Ratigan. Maybe he wasn't always a dummy. That's kind of a funny way to talk about him. So Ash of War Scarab is a gray scarab worn directly on the head. These scarabs roll clumps of ashes of ore during their labors. Slightly reduces the FP cost of skills, but increases damage taken. You know, I never really gave too much thought about this, that the scarabs themselves can roll up clumps of ashes of war in particular. And since ashes of war are essentially the fallen memories of the deceased, scarabs can roll up memories, which implies like a physical component to them. And of course, we might just be overthinking things here, but I don't know. So I really like the inclusion of scarabs because I really like a lot of ancient Egyptian mythology in which scarabs have a pretty prominent role. And I've forgotten pretty much all of my real scarab lore, so forgive me on that front. But I know some people have posited that Godwin's face kind of looks like the face of the scarab on these icons and whatnot. I can see where they're coming from with that. I just kind of leave it alone for the most part. And so we picked up the Drake talismans. This is a talisman depicting a yellow ancient dragon, boosts lightning damage negation. The ancient dragons who ruled in the prehistoric era before the Erdtree would protect their lord as a wall of living rock. And so it is that the shape of the dragon has become symbolic of all manner of protections. So many people don't think that this necessarily represents a dragon, despite the wording on the shield face. Some people think it could be like a tree root, or not tree root, a tree stump that's been like cross-sectioned. And maybe that's supposed to be related to the dragons. But the Drake talismans are very important because they are one of a few items which definitively place the Erdtree's birth later in the timeline, and then we get this explicit confirmation that the dragons predated at least the Erdtree, and or maybe what may have come before that, if there was anything at all, because there is a little bit of ambiguity into how the fire giants fit into everything. Did they kind of coexist with the dragons? Were they enemies? We were kind of told that the fire giants were not on the best terms with the ice dragons, at the very least. But with the kiln of the fire giants being tied directly into Farum Azula, it does leave a lot of unanswered questions for us to ponder over. Why was Marika all crumbled? Wasn't she immortal? So she shattered herself along with the ring. So that's part of why she's crumbled. So I think it's really possible that Marika could have like split off her base personality from her body, and it might be possible that that could be Melina or something else, and maybe we'll get more with that with the DLC cope. But it is strange that both Marika and Ratigan kind of lack the agency one would expect of a quote-unquote god. Yeah, and his mouth says the Erdtree has remembrances carved on it. And then Dylan liked the root crown sprouting idea. I think it's a really neat idea. I don't think that's completely divorced from the possibilities in the game, but as far as like the Crucible is concerned, I feel like my hands are tied by it being described as the literal original Erdtree, which is kind of why I have that opinion until we get more info to say otherwise. Alright, so I've pointed out these banners before. We've got what I call like the Banished Knight banner because of its existence on the Rallying Standard, which Commander O'Neill uses in Caelid. And the Veteran set is just kind of like a beefier version of the Banished Knight set, in my opinion. So I think this stuff is related to the Banished Knights. We've also got a ton of other Banished Knight imagery going on in this room to just kind of support this claim right here. And we also have some depictions of the Erdtree as well. So, or at least what we assume to be the Erdtree. Maybe it's a different tree after all. So now we're going to get to one of the most important items in the game. with good old America's Mischief, aka the Mimic's Veil. I forget that it's possessive as the apostrophe S. Let me hydrate real quick, and then I will get into the item. And I guess I never read the prates. So, prates? I meant pates. All right. Dylan says, don't the scarabs roll up bones and corpses? Yes. Isn't that why they refresh your flasks like killing enemies does? That would explain why ashes of war, basically ghostly remains of battle, get rolled in. You know, I agree with all of that. It's just kind of funny to think of them being memories specifically, that the scarabs are rolling up as opposed to tears or sap of the Erdtree in their balls. But you are pretty much right on the money with all that. So this does not open from the side. We'll figure that out in a moment here. But I want to deal with the Grafted Scion. Bonk. Jordo hopes we get a better maiden. Oh, you've thrown down some fighting words in chat, huh? And Smaffy, welcome into the stream. Crunchy just put out a video with the same idea about Melina. Yeah, I kind of made that claim, I think in August of 2022. I was a little bit surprised Crunchy didn't reference anything in my video, because I felt like the Musume Marika thing could have helped strengthen his point. And for anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, in the internal files, Melina is called, in English, Marika of Daughter, but like Marika spelled with a C for some reason. And I believe that internal file name is probably machine translated, because in the Japanese, she's called Musume Marika, and while Musume can mean daughter on its own, when it's kind of used as a prefix or in front of the word, it can be interpreted more along the lines of Lady Marika. So, if Melina equals Lady Marika, does that mean Melina is Marika? That's kind of the implication that they're going with, it seems. Seems like he's not going to come too far this way, so I might want to go up top and come back around after all. Actually. Oh, damn it. I hit him. Can see. Not the screen. That's annoying. Roll in. I think I was out of stamina because I couldn't roll. No, I shouldn't have been out of stamina. I didn't do anything. Maybe that was just an input thing. Uh-oh. Grafted Scions are pretty tough, to be honest. Oh man, I'm gonna get got if I run in like that. Okay. And he's just comboing for days. I can't move. I'm gonna get got for this. Okay, I still have some juice left. Gotta be pretty low on that. Okay, he was low on HP. It was pretty dicey. It was pretty dicey. It was not my best moment. Staunching boluses. And we get the super cool painting of Godfrey, which I know really pisses off a lot of people. And the Highland Axe, which I will talk about both of these here. Alright. Hey, Potato Poker and 8 Doggy, did we have a spoiler in the chat without horns? Okay. Thank you, mods. Appreciate that. Do you think that we'll talk to Mikola like a replacement of Melina? I don't really know. I wish we'll get more about Melina, but it seems kind of unlikely. At the very least, like, flesh out something if we don't sacrifice her to the Frenzied Flame. Come on, man. Yeah, Mao's hands are tied on making theories because you don't want to bring spoilers of the DLC. Okay, appreciate that. Galaxy says Alexander's the best waifu, and you won't hear otherwise. Yeah, as Mao says, Musume can mean something along the lines of young girl. It can be daughter or young Marika. Not just necessarily young girl, so Musume can be used in the sense of like a maiden. And in Dark Souls 1, Priscilla is referred to as a maiden at some point, I believe. Musume. Or maybe I'm just thinking of the Dark Souls 3 pseudo reference to her. But yeah, it can be quite a bit older than some people think. And also, like, Musume on its own, when read as Ko, can just mean like a girl, as in like a young woman. Not necessarily young, like a woman who's not married, a maiden. You always thought of Marika like Piccolo from Dragon Ball? He's literally a part taken from God. Oh, actually, that's a pretty good comparison. Like Kamikolo? Yeah. True story. And Phantom Leaves, nice to see you again. What's my take on the grafted scions? Are they maybe like Godrick's children or younger members of the Golden Lineage? I don't know if I would think that they were Godrick's children. Probably just like his experiments, but I guess that calls into question if he would experiment on his own children. Because all of their faces are the same, I tend to think they're not like terribly important, and they're probably just fodder, I guess. What level am I? I'm like 30 right now? 33. Who would get mad about Godfrey? All right, I'll explain that in just a second here. And Clownscum always saw Melina as an offshoot of Marika, being similar to Millicent and Melania. Yeah, that is one of the theories that I posited based off of like what Noof or Sinka was saying on their Japanese tweet. Which is where I learned that Melina's file name was Musume Marika. And then True Connoisseur says the grafted scions are wearing crowns, which is the weird thing. I believe we can see the wandering nobles in locations have crowns, so I don't think that's too weird, but I guess I need to double check. All right, so this is a really badass painting portrait of Godfrey with Sarash on his back. But this is supposed to potentially depict Godfrey during the time of the Long March because his axe blade is broken on the one side. So this should have been painted more or less after he left the Lands Between. And we don't know whether or not his axe got broken as he was journeying outside of the Lands Between or when it was already outside of the Lands Between. So if his axe is broken outside the Lands Between, then who the hell like made this painting? When did it get sent into Stormveil? Maybe this is a dev oversight, because I mean we see Godrick pretty much, not Godrick, Godfrey chilling on an ocean floor almost, so this seems to be evocative of the Tarnished's journey across the sea and like the fog, I guess. So the fact that the axe is not full and whole has grated on some people's nerves. But another possibility is a Tarnished who was with Godfrey could have come back to the Lands Between and like painted it from memory, I guess. But yeah, just kind of one of those inconsistencies which can drive people mad. Oh yeah, let me send the elevator up. I glossed over your amazing joke. Get wrecked. Sorcerers have crowns as well. True. Do I think that the scarabs are tied to Gideon since they have the eye markings on their heads? And how else would you know of all the spells of the enemies we fought without him fighting? So I don't know if the scarabs are related to Gideon, to be honest. I think he might have just used that iconography. I did want to warp up. Okay, whatever. Because the eye icon on the scarabs are slightly different from the eye sigil on Gideon stuff. Oh, I should probably level up. I think I meant to do that a lot last stream and kept forgetting. Yeah, okay. So I'll level up to 25, and then I'll pump this up to 20 eventually, and then I'll start working on some offensive stats. Father Rat says, the in-universe painter just painted this axe broken to make it look cool. True story. True and real. What if Radagon actually had to beat Godfrey to send him away, and that's what broke his axe? I think that's a cool idea, and we're told that Godfrey had his grace, like, stolen from him, which could imply something must have happened. But we also have the conflicting information which says that... I want to go all the way up to the top, don't I? I think I do. We also have the information which says Godfrey's eyes kind of faded after the Stormlord defeated, although that does come from a sword monument thing and could just be propaganda for all we know. So I could see both events kind of happening, that if Godfrey doesn't find a worthy enemy, that he might just get discouraged and lose his will to fight despite Sarash and everything. Because if there's nobody left to fight, like, what good is a warlord? No, maybe I didn't need to come up here. Zoink Scoob. Oh, no, it is. I just forgot the way to get that way directly. Wait, no, maybe this is the right way to do it. No, I feel like I've walked out here before somewhere. Oh, I'm an idiot. I forgot about this. Okay, I figured out my foibles. I should have crouched. Gold pickled fowlfoot. Can you have my PSN? What is my PSN? Sure. Just remind me on the Discord after stream or something like that. Because I can't remember if my PSN name is identical to my YouTube name or if I added a the or something like that. So this is where I wanted to go. Now we can open the door. And then Mao said, if Melina is young Marika, that can mean this is her persona before becoming a god, like Corlu was before being Godfrey. That youngness, that youth can explain why she can't remember, or why she can remember Marika's words. I don't know if the Marika spoken echoes are because Melina is remembering them, or if they're literally the words that are lingering in the world there. Because that is a concept in Japanese, kotodama, where the power of words kind of resonate within the air around them and they can just kind of linger indefinitely. So I could see it working both ways, depending on one's headcanon about all that. Somebody's trying to get in here? Oh. Chill, bro. Damn. Lord Sworn Bolts. Hey, Levo, thanks for becoming a member. Do I have an Elden Ring group password? I do not. Must be fun to share it with my community. Maybe I should. I mean, if anything, I'd do something like super basic, like lore. I know Crunchy on his latest video said his password is Crunchy. But I feel like LP is too generic, and then last protagonist would be too long. And so... Quasi-Dingo says, you feel like people would talk about that? Sorry, I must have missed the context. Talk about what specifically? And then Inigo Montoya, nice to see you again. What's the countdown, gang? Well, we're closing in on 8 days. Well, more or less going to be 7 towards the end of the night here. You're at 26 plus 3 also in Stormveil. Nice. NA Doggy. I'm level 33. Or 35 now. And then True Connoisseur assumed the Godfrey crucifixion image was just a cutesy Conan the Barbarian reference and not much else. The Horaloo one, yeah. I kind of rewatched Conan the Barbarian somewhat recently since I upgraded my monitor. Why are these dogs so tanky? It's almost like my weapon's broken to take 4 hits to kill a mongrel. Thin Beast Bones, Golden Rune Tier 1. So we're going to get our Milksop Craven's item right here. The Lump of Flesh, but more specifically, the Chrysalids Memento. You'd invade all the time if I did that? So if I have a group password, does that make you guys invade me more? Because I don't really mind that. Okay, so you're talking about Radagon beating Godfrey. Oh, you feel like people would talk about that in the lore? Well, I mean, there is quite a bit of a cover-up between the transition from Godfrey to Radagon. I agree with you, but at least with the Mask of Confidence, he told his Raylucarian lackeys to shut the hell up. So, last protag should fit. Hey, Vorb, how's it going? Just checking in? Nice to see you again. And then Red Knight, nice to see you. I don't remember if I welcomed you in. Your mind was blown when Ratatosker mentioned that it's Radagon who blocks us out of the Erdtree. You had no idea, and suddenly the entire story made sense. I thought something made it pretty clear that it was Radagon, or maybe I just figured because it was the thorns, that the lattice symbol that looks the same in his icon, or the sword seals, that it was Radagon. I don't remember if anything says it directly. Yeah, because I knew this was related to Radagon, and I saw this seal look like this, so I just put 2 and 2 together. Mao says, if Melina equals America is true, that would put Melina's dialogue about the frenzied flame in a new light. I don't necessarily think so, because I think death and life are meant to be complementary in these games. But maybe that would also put a lot of things in a new light for people who aren't too familiar with that kind of yin-yang Taoist type of dualism that's present in a lot of FromSoft games. Alright, so we've got the courtyard, we've got the big troll, we pretty much just have the Godwin stuff left to do. But before doing that, let's go visit Roderica and talk about the chrysalids. Yeah, and Forgeboard said all of the Radagon statues have the lattice pattern. True story there. Maybe that's what tipped me off more so than the sword seal. Levo was so confused on your first playthrough about the entrance to the Erdtree being blocked. I was a little bit confused too, but it seemed fitting because the game was already large enough, and then just to find out that there was even more, I was like, oh no. Alright, so let's check out our chrysalid memento. This is a memento left by the chrysalid sacrificed for grafting. A brooch wrapped in red velvet. Traces of blood are visible. Faintly visible spirits try to convey something, but their voices cannot be heard. I don't remember. I think somebody else must have pointed this out to me, but now that I looked at it, I was like, hold on, this kind of looks like the Crucible Knight insignia on some of their armor. But I'm pretty confident somebody pointed this out to me like ages ago, and I just don't remember. Oh yeah, and I meant to point out on the talisman pouch, we've got this almost weird anchor-looking like symbol, a real T-looking like thing, just upside down, or for the anchor at least. Or maybe it's supposed to be connected all the way up at the top. It's kind of hard to tell because it's all faded. And we got this after defeating Margit, and it's a small withered bag knitted by hand, bestowed upon the ruling lord or those attempting to become lord by the elderly finger reader. The elderly finger reader. Let me look at the Japanese for this. I figure this is probably a case of singular and plural not being super clear. Oops. I'm blind. Okay. Okay, yeah. So it could be singular or plural, that the finger readers are the ones who give them to lords, or at least those who attempt to become them. Okay. Because this seems like obviously ancient, almost more so than like America and Godfrey. Not just because it's weathered, but like the symbol is also different, and it's not just any finger readers. It's the crones. I guess those are pretty much any finger reader. I take that back. Okay. Anyway, the final part. As the voices of the two fingers, finger readers are said to live lives eternal, and one is even supposed to have served as a wet nurse to royalty. So there's a lot to unpack with the finger readers living lives eternal. The way that this description is written makes it sound like they're more of an exception to the rule, but that doesn't seem to be the case in things like Egheel's Flame and whatnot. So, right. Going back to the chrysalid memento, I forgot to show off in the room where I picked this up. There's a bunch of bodies like wrapped very tightly together, almost like mummies, and I imagine the chrysalids are references to those things specifically because they're kind of like the equivalent of pupae for bugs, I guess, for the grafting spider being Godrick. Dylan says, crazy idea. If Marika equals Melina, what if Radagon equals Mesmer? I unironically think that could be a possibility, depending on how that all fits into the DLC. I'm a little bit skeptical because why would Mesmer be active if Radagon is not? Or I don't know, because it seems like... Hold on, let me try to rephrase this. Like, Radagon does fight us, but maybe he's not all there. Mesmer is a question mark, but Melina works with us, despite Merrican like not being there. So I think, even though I was joking earlier that Radagon is a puppet of like the Elden Beast, a dummy for the ventriloquist, his will seems to linger within his body enough to oppose us. Or maybe it is all the Elden Beast, and maybe you can headcanon Mesmer being to Radagon what Melina may be to Marika. Why doesn't the Greater Will and Outer God, Inigo is always assumed, show any obvious adverse side effects like the Rock God, Formless Mother, or Frenzy? So it's one of the biggest questions about the Greater Will is whether or not it's a quote-unquote inner god as opposed to an outer god. So it might just be part of the natural way of things to not be adversely affected by the Greater Will because they're part of it. And so if the outer god of Rot became the quote-unquote inner god, for all of the Rot things, the outer god of Rot would just kind of be in accord with their nature. And the things that were like Greater Will aligned, like our current characters, they might become affiliated with the outer god of the Greater Will, I guess, would be one potential way of looking at it. And now thinks Horaloo is a reference to Odin. I almost feel like Marika is better coded for Odin than Godfrey / Horaloo. Without Horn loves that Radagon stole the lattice pattern from Rayo Lucaria. Same here. We might get a 5th talisman pouch in the DLC. That'd be wild. Do I have any lore of Marika and Godfrey in bed? No. Enough to produce children, at least. Eladelia is going to be amused if we learn in the DLC that finger maidens eventually grow up to become the finger readers in their own phase of life. You said Odin's sacrifice? Oh, sacrifice to Odin. I see what you're saying. So Godfrey would... Yeah, I could see that because, like, Marika kind of represents God... It represents Odin, so Godfrey could be a sacrifice to her. Yeah, that would work. And then Chudboria, nice to see you again. Marika's like Odin from Wagner's Ring Cycle. I'm glad you kind of mentioned that because I tend to forget about it quite a bit. There's somebody who frequents the Discord, Bad Lad, who's pretty big on the Wagner lore, or Wagner lore there. Yeah, Levo says several characters could be Odin references, just like Marika and Godwin both reference Jesus. Alright, so we talked about all the chrysalids. Let's to our Milksop Craven.
You're willing to make me a chrysalid, but I'm still a milksop craven. I can't even govern myself to step beyond the bounds of this ward. Please. You're only wasting your strength. A pleasure to see you. Did you give the little chrysalids the message? That I love them, and that despite my craven heart, I'm sure I'll be joining their club soon enough. What's this? A keepsake? From my men? Oh, goodness me. I can't... They all believed in me. They all thought I'd make something of myself. Me, who can't do anything. I think I'll head to the Roundtable hold. Perhaps I'll find my purpose there.
So she seems to already have knowledge of the Round Table as well as a way of accessing it, which is interesting because she never saw the guidance of grace. And she doesn't seem to have a maiden of her own, and she doesn't seem to be a maiden capable of doing that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know.
I think I'll head to the Roundtable hold. Perhaps I'll find my purpose there.
Yeah, I agree with Florgeborge there, who says, the Christian population of Japan is less than 1%, so any references are most likely aesthetic over anything substantial. You knew a guy who lived there for work. To be fair, there is all of the complications of how much influence George R.R. Martin may have had over the creation of the lore, and it could still be more heavily Christian coded because of his influence as well. And then Inigo asks, can she see the Erdtree? So this seems to be a really common, like, what I would argue is a misconception about the lore, in that some people think that people in the lands between literally cannot see the Erdtree, but there's really nothing to substantiate that. Some people take Bach's dialogue at the foot of Lane Dell to be indicative that he can't see it, but I think he's just saying that in an exclamatory way. It's like, holy crap, the Erdtree's right there. It's this huge. Did you notice how grand the Erdtree is? But we have other characters who talk about being able to see the Erdtree, like Patches. Muriel says that the Church of Vows was built within view of both the Erdtree and Rea Lucaria. And maybe that's historically true. Maybe you don't believe Muriel can see it now. I think there's somebody else who talks about the Erdtree, but I forget. I know there's a pretty good Reddit post which compiled a lot of evidence on it. I think they missed like one thing, but yeah, if you like look it up, it seems pretty clear that the Erdtree is not just an illusion. I can't see the Erdtree either. Nope, I can't. It's too dark. Feels bad. Too windy. So we gave it to the Milksop Craven. What's that? Weird. So let's go visit our Milksop Craven and learn more about Spirit Ashes. Maybe I'll get lucky and pull this off again.
Greetings. Nice to see you again. My name is Roderica. I should have told you sooner. Isn't this place impressive though? The Roundtable hold. Covert quarters of the Two Fingers. And gathering place of champions who vie to become Elden Lord. I never knew the guidance bestowed upon us Tarnished had such fantastic roots, although it's all a bit much for me, in truth. I'm still looking for my own purpose. Oh, and please allow me to express my thanks for giving me that keepsake from my men. It was as if I was frozen with self-pity. I failed them at every turn. You have my gratitude. Please, take this. It's all a bit much for me, in truth. I'm still looking for my own purpose. It's all a bit much for me, in truth. I'm still looking for my own purpose.
Alright, so on one of my previous videos, the one about the grace of old, I posited that it's possible that grace could be tied to duty, and that could be a thing which curses the tarnished and keeps them alive. So Roderica, who's never seen the guidance of grace, also seems to lack a purpose, which I think helps support that idea. Another thing is Roderica does identify herself as a tarnished, which is interesting because no other item descriptions do. So it seems like the Roundtable Hold can have people in it who don't necessarily see grace, which is somewhat supported by the existence of Hugh. But also with Hugh's personal relationship to Marika, it seems like there's a good possibility she could have trapped him here, as opposed to him like coming here naturally himself or something like that, or being brought here by a different maiden. So we talked to Roger in Stormveil. I don't think he shows up here yet until we either defeat Godrick or move on in his quest line. So let's go talk to Hugh, and he might start talking to us about Roderica. Otherwise, we'll just need to reset the area and then do this all over again.
Well, where have you been hiding? I took you for dead. No matter, it's all the same. Lay out your arms, then. The girly boy here. She's crestfallen and can scarcely swing a blade. But she has a gift for spirit tuning. I saw another one like her long ago. Their eyes share the same hue.
Alright, so with Hugh talking about knowing another spirit tuner, yet all of his other dialogue seems to be in reference to Marika, it makes me wonder if Marika herself was a spirit tuner. Now, I don't fully buy into that idea. I kind of also don't like it because it really sucks to try to pigeonhole one specific character just because there's a slot that they can fill. So, setting that aside, entertaining the moment, or the idea for a moment that Marika was a spirit tuner, could that have any interplay with what we see in the story trailer for the DLC? Maybe. Maybe it also ties into all this other stuff with the different aspects of Marika and Radagon and whatnot, but I don't really know about that. So, nonetheless, Hugh was put here potentially by Marika, who wants us to craft a weapon capable of killing a god. And he also knew a spirit tuner, and that's how he will be able to tell Roderica what to do. And I also think that there's a bit of a parallel between imbuing weapons with ashes of war, aka the memories of the deceased, and talking to spirits whom we summon with memories of battle for their spirit ashes. So I think Roderica doesn't say anything until we rest. And then Jordo is asking if Q crafted Marika's hammer. I don't believe so, because we're told that the hammer was crafted in the lands of the Newman. So maybe the Roundtable Hold, as we're in it right now, is part of the Newman lands. Maybe that's a possibility, but I would generally say it must have happened outside the lands between. And then Mao says, because the Erdtree immortalizes spirits, Marika being a spirit tuner is something that he can see. Yes. Oh yeah, and then people were talking about Melena's lost purpose. Elizabeth Delia has never been 100% convinced that Melina saying her purpose is lost means she forgot, as opposed to whatever she thought her purpose was is no longer something that's possible to pursue. Let me think about that for a second. I think Melina in other locations says that she lost her memory. So I would kind of disagree with that for now, but I would need to play around with it in my head a bit more. Red Knight says, you kind of feel like everyone's taking the concept of two people being one person and applying it to too many people. You think that we should assume everyone's separate because you think Marika and Radagon is special? So the thing about Marika and Radagon being special is that we're shown that it's not true that they're special to an extent. Maybe the way that they are dual is special in and of itself. But setting those two aside, we do have Millennia having offshoots or buds of herself or something along those lines in the case of Millicent, Pollyanna, and the three other Millicent sisters whose names I can't remember off the top of my head. And Beyond that, we have the odd cases of Irina becoming Hayata and Yura becoming Shabriri. And we also have Gowry possessing, like, the pests of rot in Kaled. So I agree that it is very tiresome trying to fit everyone as everybody else into the theories, but unfortunately the game just kind of invites those tinfoil hat theories there. And we also have Crunchy's Godfrey video. Yeah, okay.
It's all a bit much for me, in truth. I'm still looking for my own purpose. You're telling me I possess some kind of gift? I don't believe you. But if I do have this talent, and goodness knows it would be my first, I suppose I should try to hone it, shouldn't I? I'll ask Master Hugh to teach me. Certainly he does appear intimidating and holds no love for us tarnished. But I know he's trapped here at the Roundtable hold, so I can tell. He's a gentle soul underneath it all.
Alright, so that's another confirmation that Roderica is a tarnished right there.
If I do have a talent for spirit tuning, and goodness knows that would be a surprise, I suppose I should try to hone it, shouldn't I? I'll ask Master Hugh to teach me.
Alright, so now we should
If
reset.
I do have a talent, I suppose I should. I'll ask Master.
Because I'm confident Hugh doesn't say anything else right now.
Back already, no matter.
Oh, I'm wrong.
The girl. What about her? Are you out of your mind? Who'd stay with an ugly brute who only knows how to smith? Absurd. Besides, she'd never agree to it.
This is kind of ironic to me because Smith is one of the most common surnames in history because the ugly brutes who only know how to smith didn't go to war, and so widows tended to get with the only men who were like left in the village if things went wrong, and smiths stuck around. So anyway,
I refuse to believe it. I don't doubt you, but I know when something's too good to be true.
all right, let's go talk to Roderica again, and then Hugh once more.
If I do have a talent for spirit, I suppose I'll ask Master.
Right, now we need to rest. So Inigo asks, are tarnished dead and revived by definition in the current state of the lands between? It seems like not all of them are being revived anymore, and that might have to do with no longer seeing the guidance of grace, although Roger seems to be a bit of an exception, I suppose. I don't know.
Good to see you again. Thank you very much. I have you to thank, don't I? For persuading Master Hugh. I can happily announce that he has taught me the noble toil of spirit tuning. I'm as yet unsure of what I might be able to accomplish, but if I might be able to help you all, I'd certainly like to try. And if there's any chance to ease the suffering of my dear men who were grafted, well, I certainly must try. Roderica, the Spirit Tune Apprentice. Pleased to make your acquaintance.
Some people are asking if Roger saw the grace. I think at one point he did. I don't remember if he says that he doesn't see it anymore. It's like one of the first things he asks us, whether or not we still see grace, and I think the implication is that he does not. But he comes back to life after being death blighted, and he kind of teleports into the Roundtable hold. So he's kind of one of the exceptions, it seems, to the rule of people of tarnished dying and not coming back, I suppose. So we can upgrade our militiaman ashes, but before doing that, let's go ahead and check out our jellyfish, which I have not done yet. This is too far. So, ashen remains in which spirits yet dwell, used to summon a spirit jellyfish, a floating spirit that illuminates its surroundings. Prone to tears, the jellyfish girl... No, maybe it is tears. Prone to tears, the jellyfish girl searches for her distant home, will bravely spew poison at foes on her summoner's behalf. It seems her name is Aurelia. So that's the spirit ash that Roderica gave us.
Greetings. Are you here for spirit tuning?
There we go.
Well, where have you been hiding? I took you for dead. No matter, it's all the same. Lay out your arms, then.
Can't Roger see the Bloodstar now? If so, there's no indication of that. And then JB Stevens, welcome on into the stream. Have I heard the new Dark Souls song by Mimic? It's called A Darkened Soul. I have not. There was a missed opportunity to have Roderica be able to upgrade Torrent. Upgrade Torrent how would be my question. Like for speed-wise, jump-wise, turning radius-wise. And then Jordo asks, if mimics can turn into anything, how come they don't turn into a boss? Well, they potentially do turn into bosses. You've got the troll in Nokron. You've got the mimic tier boss, which is a literal boss. Well, two of them, technically. And there might be a possibility that the Dragonkin soldiers were originally mimics. Okay, let's go check out what Hugh has to say about Roderica.
I spoke with the girl. She has a gift for spirit tuning. So I told her everything I know. I'm indebted to a spirit tuner I met long ago. It was all I could do to honor her. I'm sorry I doubted you.
So, I really like Hugh's dialogue here because he just flat out lies to us before. He says, I don't doubt you, but... And then here he's like, I'm sorry I doubted you. Alright, so that's pretty much that for their quest line up until we upgrade our spirits a little bit more. How many upgrades do I have? Oh. Should be pretty okay then, I think.
Greetings. Are you here for...
Maybe, I think we need to get to the third tier for Roderica. Let me reset and just double check. I'm pretty confident this doesn't work, but... She'll tell us she's a real spirit tuner now.
Greetings. Are you here for spirit?
Alright. Fail. Not going to talk to Fia because I'm pretty confident nothing happens until we have Roger up in here. Dialis will still be whining about Lanya.
Be sure to tell me if you she's a servant to my house.
And Gideon is... Oh, his door's open now. Alright, so we do have a lot more dialogue to go through.
What do you need? I have little time to spare.
What do you mean, a house guest?
Oh, are you aggrieved at the notion you are but a visitant here? Then you would do well to remember the first words of grace given to you. Stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. If those words held any meaning to you, follow the guidance of grace. Lay low the shard bearers and claim for yourself a great rune. Do so, and the doors to the Roundtable's inner chamber will open, and you will receive the wisdom of the Two Fingers.
Somebody get that man some glasses. Look at that reading posture. And you guys try to get it on my back for telling you to sit the hell up straight with Nightbot. I just don't want you turning into Gideon. My man is nearsighted as hell. Oh yeah, so one of the other interesting things to me about Gideon's dialogue right here is that we're told about the dialogue of the Two Fingers that was told to us. What item is that? I don't remember. I think it has something to do with the maiden. Let me stand before the Elden Ring. Give me a second. I'm going to look it up. Oh, it is Memory of Grace. It is merely a cycle. Stand before the Elden Ring, become the Elden Lord. You would do well to remember the first words of grace given to you. Stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. If those words hold any meaning to you, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we get in the Memory of Grace, even though these weren't told to us directly. So maybe this is a bit of diegetic information to suggest that the potential authors of all the descriptions could be the Two Fingers, if these are supposed to be the words of the Two Fingers, I guess. But, you know, take that with a hefty grain of salt. He doesn't believe in chairs, yeah. To reach the fingers, you must have a great rune, so Gideon has one. Also, Vare. That does seem to be the implication, and it does seem to suggest that we've got like a multiple world theory going on here, because how has Ania seen somebody gather two great runes together as a tarnished if it wasn't us? So it just, yeah. Don't know what else to say about that. Hey Emily, nice to see you again. Gideon won't talk to you unless you've seen the fingers, but are we sure everyone in the Roundtable hold has had an audience with him? Maybe he's just a hypocrite? He could just be a hypocrite. He could just be trying to contain information for himself. Or he is probably just sick of tarnished like Blackguard, who don't really have any interest in becoming Elden Lord or helping Gideon along his path of becoming Elden Lord. He probably wants to see if we're useful enough to be of use to him.
Once the wisdom of the Two Fingers becomes your own, I'll impart to you a proper welcome. As a true member of the Round Table, I have high hopes for you. I'm sick and tired of them. These namby-pamby tarnished think us no more than a shelter from the rain.
And yeah, so that's pretty much the direct confirmation from the mouth of Gideon himself that he's sick of the state of the current tarnished.
We've spoken long enough. I have matters to attend to.
Alrighty. So Ensha isn't going to say anything else. Just looks at us menacingly. So we can offer the Bone Peddler's Bell Bearing. Oh, the Bone Peddler just goes to the normal stock. So we get Thin Beast Bones and Hefty Beast Bones. I think I'll just leave all this stuff alone for now. Go. Okay. Whose runes did Vike get? We don't know. I mean, presumably Godrick because he's so weak, but maybe Millennia. Now, what else was I going to do here? I think that's it for the Roundtable hold, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Was there somewhere else in the lands between I wanted to visit before Godwyn? I thought there was something, but I just can't remember. So we'll go visit Roger underneath Stormveil. Oh yeah, and for what it's worth, Ania does say that Gideon, like the fingers have high hopes for Gideon, so it does seem like he was able to procure great runes for himself. And I wouldn't be surprised if he used others to get those runes. I'm going to leave the painting room for later after I aggro the troll all the way back here. So we'll just do the Roger stuff now. Can't remember if this gives you a little bit of fall damage or not. Golden runes. I whiffed it. Oh, that's just a blood stain. Okay. Jigalag says, to be fair, we don't know if in the past there were the same rules. Like, who knows how long ago Gideon and Vare were revived by grace. It could be possible that the power has been weakening over time. I could see that. That would kind of be in line with the power of the fame fading in Dark Souls. How were the runes returned to the previous owners? Oh, I don't think they were ever returned. I think it's like a multiverse, unironically. Gideon's probably parodying lore theorists, going crazy all over the little details. Hold on, I need to ban someone real quick. Let's go get our sorcery. So we get the Rancor Call sorcery from this scarab for some reason. Sure, a fun one. Oh yeah, I should probably talk about this little place, whatever it is. So as we descend Stormveil, we start getting some of the older statue iconography cropping up here. With all of this stuff being broken and thrown down here, it seems as though they weren't held in the highest reverence, which is kind of strange because we see this dude all over the Divine Towers, the Saint Bridge statue, whatever you want to call it. And this is like the Urn Woman. I think I could see her next to the dining hall, which I didn't show off. And this area right here seems to predate Stormveil to some degree because of these statues. Like this, I don't really know what to make of this spot specifically. It's all like disheveled and out of whack, which could have been a byproduct of the shattering and the land shifting, I suppose. But when we come down here, you can see a bunch of boats. I know some people think these look like cocoons or chrysalids, but I think they're supposed to be like sea burials or something along those lines. And this will go into the roots of the Erdtree, which is why we're going to fight an ulcerated tree spirit in a second here. But we also have like black flame style ghost flame going on over here. So let's go ahead and pull out that new spell. Rancor Call is sorcery of the servants of death. Summons vengeful spirits that chase down foes, charging enhances potency. Once thought lost, this ancient death hex was rediscovered by the necromancer Garrus. So we can meet Garrus underneath. Wait, is he the one underneath Lindell, or is he in like the cave to the west of the abandoned coffin? He's either in the Black Knife cave or underneath Lindell catacomb. Anyway, Necromancer Garrus is still kicking it, essentially. So this, and because he's a Tarnished, we don't know whether or not this is a post-shattering rediscovery or if it was before the Tarnished were exiled and he just became Tarnished after the fact. And Mao says, you think it's more likely he has another unknown rune, since there's nothing saying that the great runes we have in the game are the only ones. Sage's Cave. It might be that one. Yes. He's in the Black Knife Cave? Okay, cool. Maybe good old Godrick just renovated the place and dumped the old stuff here. I do get that feeling as well, but I feel like this stuff predates Stormveil Castle by a significant margin. Or at least the current form of Stormveil. Alright, time to fight another one of these ulcerated tree spirits in the second worst spot. For some reason, I don't think it's... I thought it came in through the back. Not right there. I probably should have drank my juice as well. There we go. It helps that the music isn't crazy here, so it makes this feel a bit more calm and chill. I forgot about that. Somehow I did. But I still had my damage negation tier on, so I tanked it. I did not tank that. Can't see what's going on. Damn it. I was not trying to roll that part. Uh-oh, I hate this. I couldn't tell if that was the ground one or not. I was looking at the floor. Oh. Damn it. May as well heal. There you go, baby. Had to struggle to succeed. Stone sword key. Daggers and a smoldering butterfly. So as we come here, nothing really happens. Oh no, his bloodstain's already here. I feel like I've been here before where this isn't Roger's bloodstain. No, this one is not him. Okay. This one should be him, right? Yeah. So my first time coming through here, I was terrified at like what happened to his corpse because I didn't know what Deathblight was. And just to see somebody's just chilling there and then he just floats up into the sky, Darth Vader style, I was like, what the hell is that? So I like legged it out of here real quick. So yeah, we got the Prince of Death pustule, so we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about right here. So I'm going to hydrate real quick just to prepare myself, to be honest. Methoda says, do we have a solid theory on what these tree spirits are? You felt like they were the Erdtree's attempts to lock up corruption like a blister or when something calcifies over. So I tend to think of the ulcerated tree spirits and whatnot kind of like baby Elden beasts, but different because they are not the actual Erdtree. They're just like clones of it. And because they've been metaphorically decapitated from the Erdtree, that might be why the Erdtree avatars don't have heads themselves. So, well, I don't necessarily think these are literal clones of the Elden Beast. I think the principle is at play, where they're all cobbled together spirits of the dead, infused into like the tree spirit somehow. And why exactly they're snake-like is anyone's guess. I know Crunchy thinks that the Glomide Queen Ismerica could be related to snakes. I am not sold on that theory by a significant margin there, but regardless, that is a theory that is definitely worth sharing. So anyway, folks, this is supposed to be the Visage of Godwyn, which is kind of confirmed to us in the new item we picked up. Did I manage to find it myself? Which item are you speaking about? Let's do it this way, it's faster. Alright. A fetid pustule taken from facial flesh. Raises vitality. It is said that this pustule came from the visage of the Prince of Death, he who used to be called Godwyn. As first dead of the demigods, it said he's buried deep under the capital at the Erdtree's roots. So I waited a while to check out root resin because I wanted this one first, because the Prince of Death's pustule does tell us that Godwyn was buried at the Erdtree's roots. So, with this information in mind, let's go ahead and check out. Where is it? Oh, root resin. Secreted from the roots of the great tree can also be found near trees on the surface. Resin secreted from the roots of the great tree can also be found near trees on the surface. The roots of the great tree were once linked to those of the Erdtree, or so they say, and it is for this reason catacombs are built around great tree roots. So, as I mentioned out on previous streams, The Great Tree is supposed to be explicitly a reference to the Erdtree, and that is confirmed to us for the Japanese text of the Tree and Beast Surcoat more specifically, because the title of it in Japanese is essentially the Great Tree and Beast Surcoat, and the Surcoat depicts the distant Erdtree and the Beast Regent. So Great Tree equals distant Erdtree, Great Tree equals Erdtree. Got it. So going back to root resin. The roots of the Great Tree. The Erdtree was once linked to the roots of the Erdtree, or so they say, and it is for this reason catacombs are built around Erdtree roots. So if Great Tree and Erdtree are synonymous, then why the hell are they not used the same way here? Like, why is there a difference between the Erdtree and the Great Tree in this text specifically, as well as deeper depths? The way that I cope with this kind of mental gymnastery that we're about to do is that minor Erdtrees are technically Erdtrees, so it could be possible that this is trying to tell us that the roots of the big Erdtree were once linked to those of the minor Erdtrees, or so they say, and it is for this reason that the catacombs are built around the big Erdtree's roots. So, for anybody who might not be familiar with my chain of thought about that, I think the minor Erdtrees are clones of the Erdtree from the Erdtree's roots, and they were not planted by seeds or anything. And so all of the catacombs where we have those who live in death are the way that they are because the roots in the catacombs are linked to the minor Erdtrees in many locations, which are eventually linked back up to the main Erdtree. And that ties back into the Prince of Death pustul's face. Because Godwyn was buried at the roots of the Erdtree, death roots sprouted in his body and began to infiltrate the roots. And since the roots are connected all throughout the lands between, it infected like the roots of the minor Erdtrees, which is why we have those who live in death show up in catacombs. So that's just kind of my quick rundown of all of that right there. And then Enter Y says, a snake eats a golden seed, then becomes the ulcerated tree spirit. Makes sense to you? Nice, I like it. Hey Aziz, nice to see you again. Do I know Jack and Mimic's theory that Godwyn is a bastard and is not Godfrey's son? I think it's silly, to be honest. We're told that he's like a scion of the Golden Bough. Was Godfrey and the other demigods were first of the Golden Lineage? So Jack as a Mimic thinks that that Godwyn is Radagon's son, but that just doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons, in my opinion. Mr. Jigalag hates that it's different from the original body in Deeproot. It's still almost the same, and the only one instance of almost fully formed copy of Godwyn's corpse. Maybe we'll get another copy of Godwyn's corpse in the DLC, or Godwyn himself, who knows? So yeah, this has definitely bothered people that we've got a kind of clone of Godwyn here. Notably, this version of Godwyn doesn't have hair coming out of its mouth or the back of its head. I know it's kind of a funny meme question to say, like, which part of the head is actually upright on Godwyn, because the Godwyn that we see in Deeper Depths, its head would be upside down if its hair is at the top, like his eyes are lower. Anyway, so if this is the mouth, you would expect it to be looking one way, but the Deeper Depths one is like the opposite way around. So anyway, what else was I going to say? Right. So for whatever reason, this version of Godwyn doesn't have the Deathblight eyes in it. Maybe they were plucked out. And the other really confounding thing about the death of Godwyn is that we're told essentially that Dee picks up the other half of the curse mark, the Hallowbrand, in Summonwater Village, which is neither connected to the Deeper Depths Godwyn nor this version of Godwyn. So somehow Godwyn's back scar was discovered in Summonwater Village. Maybe it was removed and like put there by the Tibia Mariner or something along those lines. Dee picks it up, which is why Fia will kill him if you leave him alive for her to do so, which we've already beaten and kind of ended that part of the quest a little bit early, just in favor of showing off a little bit more obscure lore with Dee. Chadwick says, aren't the ulcerated tree spirits cutting room floor enemies from Dark Souls 3? I think they're just kind of like more fleshed out takes on the pus of men. I guess pun intended there, but yeah. If he's the Prince of Death, who's the King of Death? I think the better question is, who would be the queen of death if he's the prince of death? And then, of course, if he's a prince, who is the prince's mother? Who's the person painting all these portraits in the artist shacks? It's each of the paintings are done individually by the artists whose souls we meet to get the items from. Do I think the minor Erdtrees existed before the Shattering? Yes, I am of the opinion that the minor Erdtrees sprouted in the Age of Abundance. Alright, so this was the other statue that I was talking about. Maybe I didn't voice it out loud, but we've got the urn lady who's still up right here. So it's not as though they got rid of all of the iconography of this woman, but they did, at the very least, change her location in the Stormveil church up above. So that's it for this side. Now that we've sent Roderica to the Roundtable hold, we'll be able to get her hood from the chrysalid pile. I'm going to be able to show this off. So like I said a little while back on the stream, I believe that the chrysalids are these kind of mummy things, which are probably reused assets from which are probably reused assets from Bloodborne. You can see these kind of corpses in Hemwick Charnel Lane in the Witch of Hemwick fight, all along the walls and beforehand. Not that that's super important, I'm just pointing it out. So now we can get our Crimson Hood, which talks about Roderica never sing the Guidance of Grace. And as we look up here at the troll, we can see its head, an arm, and a leg removed, potentially to be grafted onto Godrick himself. And you can see some of the troll parts on him. We've also got a commoner, probably because that had an item before. Yeah, some random commoners in addition to these other chrysalid style corpses. Right, so we did all that. Let's go ahead and teleport back up and talk to Roger. Spoiler alert, he's not going to be here. Levo made a bet with Ratatosker that the DLC will appear in some form. So, is that like a bet that you're going to buy him an old like PS2 game or something like that? Because apparently like other people owe him games or he owes other people games. I'm not too sure with how that goes. I heard him talk a little bit about something like that on the little bit that I caught of his Jack and Daxter streams. I'm really lucky I jumped over that. This thing was tankier than I expected. Smoldering butterfly. Alright, so Roger isn't going to be here. But now we can start to follow some of the clues that Roger left behind for us. So with him gone, he will leave a couple notes throughout this area. Maybe only the one. But there's something like take the plunge. Or maybe you do that before you find his corpse. I can't remember the exact triggers for this specifically. How the hell do you pick up somebody else's back scar? I mean, we do it to Ronnie, don't we? You said the golden seed says it was during the shattering. Yeah, I don't believe that the minor Erdtrees are products of golden seeds. I think they're products of the root systems. And that's why I think they have golden seeds within them. Because they're clones of the Erdtree. And they have their own seeds. But they themselves are not born from seeds. Sweet. Okay. So I think Roger's thing should be that way. Is this the way to get... I always forget exactly how to get to the back part of the rampart. Not rampart tower, what's it called? The lift side chamber. Let me think about that. This should just be the Crucible Knight way. I don't think this really connects. Anyway, I'm just gonna explore. Hope ahead. Alright, so we can't go further that way, so I think I am on the right path after all. Hey Elden Enthusiast, how's it going, my man? How is the progress on your video going? Do you think you're going to get it done before the DLC? Chadwick asks, are we even sure that the minor Erdtrees are the same things as the real Erdtree? I don't know, to be fair, but I think that's just kind of like the theory that I'm going with, that it makes the most sense to me for there to have been minor Erdtrees in the days of antiquity, because the minor Erdtree guardians have quote-unquote ancient pacts with the Erdtree, which doesn't ring true to me that that would have occurred after the shattering for those pacts to be ancient. Amongst other things relating to like crystal tears and whatnot. Alright, so yeah, this does not work out. First off, hidden path, therefore jumping ahead. Yep. I'm gonna need to go to the left side chamber spot. John, I think I need to go up to the top of this thing. Oh, Chadwick's asking if the minor Erdtrees are a different species than the Erdtree itself. Well, I mean, they're all called golden trees, except the minor Erdtrees are just called small golden trees. So I imagine they can't be that different. So that way, hold on. I think I need to go all the way to the right. Elden's been completely stopped for a while now, waiting for the doc to tell you when to get the surgery to cut a piece of your gut out. Oh man, sounds horrible. Hopefully everything goes well. Do you have like a date for surgery lined up and everything, or you said you're waiting? I was not trying to do that. I was trying to guard counter. I need to get my stamina back. There we go. Like, there's nothing exactly wrong with the Stormhawks. It's just really hard to deal with them as a melee character. And what I mean by that is, like, these enemies obviously function well enough as enemies. It's just that the tools available to deal with them as a melee are not the most viable. Fudge. And it didn't destroy itself. Okay. Man, I always forget how to do this. I know on my very first playthrough, I spent a ridiculous amount of time trying to get that way. Oh, I remember now. Okay. I remember now. Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to, like, cushion my fall, and that did not work. Let's go this way first. Phantom says, that's interesting about the minor Erdtrees. It kind of shakes up a theory you're working on. Do I have a video elaborating on that? I don't remember if I talk about the minor Erdtrees specifically. I was intending to do that about my video about the Crucible being the Erdtree, but I ran out of time and I couldn't talk about the Great Tree stuff or any of the stuff relating to the minor Erdtrees and the timeline of the flora in the Lands Between. Because I wanted to try to get it before super spoilers got released. Which I don't know if anything in the spoilers truly contradicts what I've come up with. I've heard like conflicting theories, but not like the particulars of them. So anyway, we'll just have to see how that works out. Hey, Nightmare Maniac, welcome into the stream again. You don't know what it is, but Stormveil is the hardest dungeon in the game to navigate for you. No other location got you so turned around. For me, I think the hardest place to navigate, and maybe this is a little bit of a cheap statement, would be the subterranean shunning grounds. With the tunnels, more specifically. It's the nice thing is that area isn't like super gigantic, so it's pretty easy to navigate overall. But yeah, Stormveil and Raya Lucaria are quite a handful. Okay, so I do want to go up the elevator. I thought so. I mean, I know it all connects. Now, let's just do the stupid troll first. But I don't want to go this way, because this will be head-on. Apply directly to the forehead. Well, it's better than kiting the troll with all these enemies around, I suppose. Oh, it lived. I'm still not used to the overhand R1. Golden Rune tier 2. And we'll leave Nefeli until after we do our trolley stuff. Another golden seed. Trina's lily. Oh, before the troll, let's get rid of the omen. And the dog. Elden needs another scan first, but you scheduled that for the 21st in the morning. Got to get that out of the way and then shadow the Erdtree the rest of the day. Oh, man. Do you have, like, any idea of what's wrong yet? Or is that exactly what the scan is for? Do the doctors have an idea? Or are they just literally all waiting on that? I would rather get rid of the dog first, to be honest. I rolled way too early. Let's get our stamina back. Thought I was going to attack again. Oh yeah, omens aren't that strong against like the big attacks. I forgot about that. They can withstand a hit on occasion with like super armor, but they don't exactly have like impossible poise. Oh yeah, I forgot the Weeping Peninsula painter dude. Alright, so here we get Prophecy. And I'm pretty sure these don't really say too much. Yeah. Okay. Now, we can kite the troll to this statue here, and we'll break it open, I think, to get like a somber smithing stone, which isn't too important. But I think it's a cool thing to show off, because it took me a really long time in my first playthrough to understand how to break them, because it's a little bit unintuitive. Inigo says, doesn't it say that Godrick stole a relic of Godwyn in his flight to Stormveil? No, it does not. And then, in Catholicism, relic is a part of a saint's mortal remains. You think that's why the Godwyn's face is in Stormveil. So I think Ratatosker proposed that in one of his newer videos. But the game itself doesn't actually say that, I don't think. But it's a pretty compelling thought nonetheless, because you do have Godrick potentially having a more direct relationship to Godwyn and all this other grafted stuff going on, that it would just make a lot of sense for something like that to happen. And I might be misremembering an item description, or forgetting one rather, but I'm pretty confident there's nothing so direct as that. That was rude. Got breathed on wrong. Clown got lost for 2 hours in the sewers in those tunnels back in 2022. It made you nauseous. I need to continue to kite our guy, I guess. Hey Lee, nice to see you again. Until you know to follow those pipes are a nightmare to try and get through. Yeah, I think that's the easiest place to get turned around. Because I have a pretty good sense of direction, but even I was like really struggling on that. I'm like, oh man, I know a lot of people are pretty bad at directions who play these games. So I imagined that spot in particular would be hell. I honestly just used my Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs with the prism stones and whatnot to deal with it. Oh, it lived. Damn it. Screw you and your troll sword. Oh no. He's cheating, chat. Heal. Cool guys don't look at explosions. Alright, there we go. Smithing stone tiers 1 times 5 and a smithing stone 2 just 1. So yeah, it's not the most worthwhile thing to get unless you're trying to skip the tunnels or the mines or whatever they're called. So anyway, we'll talk to Nefeli and then probably just reset the area to get all of our flasks back. Wait, I passed her. Okay. Elden said they found something after poking around, and the doc just marked it with a Sharpie or something. It's not cancer, that's for sure. It just hurts. One more scan to confirm it, then you hope the surgery leaves a cool scar like your misadventure in Vegas years ago? Interesting. I would ask you about it, but you know, what happens in Vegas stays there, so I won't. And then Nightmare just finished recovering from emergency surgery to save your life from a bowel obstruction? Holy crap. No pun intended. To anyone else with medical struggles, good luck. You're not alone. Yeah. Glad to hear that it all went well for the most part, I assume.
Be proud. You were a fine warrior. Your only mistake was your choice of master. Let the winds lift you to a higher place.
So, she killed a banished knight, obviously here. I think she turns around if I talk to her. I don't know.
Well, who do we have here? Tarnished, are you? Clearly not one of Godrick's lot. I am Nefeli Lu. Tarnished and warrior, like you. I'm here by decree of my father. How utterly repellent this is. This grafting of Godrick's ill befits a lord. He's tainted the very winds. If you intend to challenge Godrick, I ask you call upon me. The winds run foul with his deeds. I'm certain father would permit me aid the fight. Apologies, but I've idled long enough. As fellow Tarnished, we must each follow our own guidance. Down whatever road takes us to the throne of Elden Lord.
Which is really ironic she says that, because she's kind of given up on her own guidance to follow the guidance of Gideon. And then she even abandons that as well as her normal guidance to become Lord of Stormveil, it seems. And as I was mentioning on the other stream with the cut content Colosseum Ghost, it does seem like it's possible that people's guidance of grace doesn't necessarily lead them down the path of becoming Elden Lord. And I've wondered whether or not grace itself is related to fate and or destined death. So with Wilhelm and Vargrim kind of being locked in a stalemate in the Roundtable hold because their guidance sent them there, we have multiple occasions of people following guidance of grace to not really come out on top in the world, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
Apologies, but I've idled long enough. As fellow Tarnished, we must each follow our own guidance. Down whatever road takes us to the throne of Elden Lord.
So yeah, all of the stuff with grace tying into fate and duty and memory is just very fascinating to me. And it always feels like we're one or two links in the chain short of getting a full picture of what's going on. So I feel like even if there's just a little bit more in the DLC, it could help hammer out some things. But maybe that's just wishful thinking. I don't know. Because then there's also all that other stuff with Grace being related to gold and willpower with unalloyed gold. Anyway. Let's go up the secret path. It took me so long to find this, I felt kind of embarrassed when I did. Because I'm generally really good at like checking the walls and places in different locations. Not this area here specifically, but the next part. So we got the Stormcaller Ash of War, which is super cool. Turn on our lantern. I don't like to fight all of the Jar Baron, but they started it, bro. He threw the first punch. I was just winding up in self-defense. I swear. I mean, I plead the fifth. Talk to my lawyer. And I do like that this one gets aggro pretty much after you hit the little dudes. And it's always so visceral whenever you defeat a living jar. So we finally get our raw meat dumpling, which suggests that they're in the jars. We get a cracked pot ×2. So definitely worth the treasure. So this will take us back out, but this isn't what we need. This is towards the elevator, which I was talking about earlier. Yeah, and so for some reason, I just missed this entirely. I couldn't exactly explain why. You know, is this not it? I need to go higher. What do I need to do? Oh, it's this over here, I think. No, Creary. So maybe I do need to go up. Did I turn this on? Probably not. Summoning pool is now functional. Hey Hilko, how's it going? Doing it for the stream? Yeah. That spot's great in co-op. Trying to remember what I need to do. So this is the elevator. This is the market. That does not go where I went. So I think I do need to like parkour off the walls there. Let's do this because it's night. How do I get higher? I've got to like go in that way somehow. So I think it is coming up here to the left and jumping on top. Yeah, so I missed this my first playthrough, and it took me a long while to figure it out. Because I was spending too much time trying to jump off the walls to go down to the opposite side of the elevator room, whatever it's called. Yeah, I tend to forget this because it's not important in the grand scheme of things. But since we're doing like a semi-completionist part of the run for like lore stuff, may as well show it off. There's just some cool stuff with like Roger's ghost here, if I remember correctly. All right. Okay, yeah, that's the Roger one. Man or tower shield. Oh yeah, that's a pretty good item. Forget that's here. So we got some more Banished Knight equipment everywhere. Wait, why am I still in combat? Oh. That was creepy. So I must have just skipped this spot. Okay, that makes sense. Just to be safe. Yeah, this is where I came from. Yep, absolutely. Alright. Yeah, so this is really cool in my opinion. Not the bloodstain. Surely what you seek is somewhere close by. And so we've got Roger pointing us in the correct direction. Smithing stone tier 3. Oh, that's our first one. So it's kind of worthwhile to come this way, I suppose. Golden Ring tier 5. I don't think that one says anything different. It might be tier 6. But yeah, so this is one of the cool Stormveil paintings that I showed off where it doesn't have the Divine Tower. Or it does have the Divine Tower. It doesn't have the Erdtree in the background. So this is the place with all the bats that we couldn't access before. Not that I tried to do it on stream. And now back to our side of grace. Amon thought about my idea about when in the timeline where the Rune of Death is sealed, and if you wonder if Vargrim having the Godslayer sword in the Age of Godfrey hints about something. We don't know when exactly Vargrim would have come into possession of that sword, to be fair. And because he's tarnished, he could have gotten it after the Shattering. Just to like play devil's advocate against my own theories, but... yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff with which hint that Destined Death would have been removed after the Age of Godfrey, more specifically. Right. And so there's nothing else really over here. Maybe I dropped down too low. So I'm just going to teleport next to Godfrey and initiate the boss fights, really. Hilko asks, that painting is early Stormveil? It seems most likely, although we don't really see mountains from Stormveil, so maybe it's not supposed to be. But if that is the Limgrave Divine Tower, then Stormveil Castle is missing, the Erdtree is missing, and the lands are different. And like the existence of the cliffs in that painting more specifically suggests it's the coast of Limgrave, but they don't fully match up with what we get in the final game. So it could just be like concept art and not really that important, and they just didn't pay attention to it. MK didn't know that painting was missing the Erdtree. Yeah, it's definitely... I think it's my favorite painting in the game. Even if it doesn't end up actually being lore significant. Hey Dev, nice to see you again. You don't think I've said his name the same way once? And Dev, yeah, I'm just preparing for the DLC and talking about the lore as I see it. And then Nightmare says, something that they've been trying to wrap their head around is what death looked like in the Golden Order Society after the Rune of Death was removed. I think people who just got rid of, like, they didn't die natural deaths, so they might have still died in combat or something like that. But even if they did, I think their spirits lingered on, whether anybody was aware of it or not. Alright, here we go.
Mighty dragon, thou art a true born heir. Lend me thy strength, O kindred. Deliver me unto greater heights. Well. A lowly tarnished. Playing as a lord. I command thee, kneel! I am the lord of all that is golden.
So Godrick's lines about the dragon being a true-born heir are kind of interesting. The Japanese is a little bit weird with the use of like the taru particle, but anyway, the way that I think it reads most naturally for the text would be that Godrick is saying to the dragon that together they will become true-born heirs once he borrows the power of that dragon. And so I don't think he is saying that the dragon itself is a true-born heir. I wanted to make sure that I actually leveled up before I just kind of like took a moment to look at whatever Godrick is doing and like die for the death quote. Oh, I could level up. Oh, that's like perfect. Okay. Because I think it's cool to show off the boss's lines of dialogue if they kill you, both in first and second phase. Because you get a little bit more info about their characters. So when we look at Godrick, I should have also pointed out that the cape that was originally on his back had the lion symbol on it. That might be a little bit too loud. It's very loud for me. Let me look at it on you guys. Yeah, let me know if that was a little bit too loud with the music and whatnot. Hey Crunchy, nice to see you again. People are related to dragons confirmed? Oh no. What an utterly inspired character design. Yeah, I really love the actual character design of Godrick, and I feel a little bit bad that he just gets dunked on as far as the lore is concerned. Oh, it's a bit loud. Okay, I will turn it down. Game side, I guess. That should probably be a bit better. It's like this boss music specifically. I also didn't pay attention to what his death quote was. So yeah, he's got all these grafted limbs on him, which is why he's Godrick the Grafted. One of the cooler things is like the embroidery on his cloak robe thing has like a bunch of circular patterns on it, which I think is almost a little bit reminiscent of the Eye of the Fire Giant. But I wouldn't necessarily say that they're the same, so hold on, let me try to get a good angle of it.
Slowly tarnished, thou unfit even to graft.
I should ask like Zlofsky or Data Miner to see like what are all of these cloth assets on Godrick. Because you don't really get a good look at them, even with a free cam, because they're all like draped over him and wrinkly and stuff. Elden said their friend pointed out to them that grafting plants is sort of forbidden in the Torah because it's the idea of playing God being a no-no, and they wonder if Elden Ring uses grafting to evoke this sentiment in-game. That's a really interesting idea. I didn't know about that with the Torah specifically, because I know like a lot of early Catholic monks paid a lot of attention to botany and things like beans, so I figured they probably would have done grafting, but I guess I really don't know about that. Hey Ash King, nice to see you again. It's going pretty well. How about you? This music slaps though. So we have so much disdain for him, we pull out our telescope mid-fights. I mean, he is not the most mechanically challenging boss to me. So let's go get into phase 2. I should have drank my juice. Ah, it didn't swing. That's annoying. Get broken, son. Uh-oh. Cut your arm off. I guess it didn't do that much damage yet. Here I talked about my disdain for Godrick, and he's gonna clap my cheeks. I thought he was doing the projectile attacks. I do like that you can get hurt by him doing that. Crunchy asks, the second axe isn't an obtainable one, right? It kind of looks like the Millwood Earth axe. The one in his offhand? I feel like I would need the free cam to take a better look at it, but that's a good question, actually.
Dragons. Lend me thy strength.
And I remembered I forgot to read the Highland axe next to Godfrey's portrait.
Forefathers, one and all! Bear witness!
Our Mad Max line right there. So this attack, I normally just sprint at him and like hit him because it's free damage, free real estate. Let me go pick up my runes and then listen to what he has to say. Oh yeah, so speaking of like all the grafting things, we also have the dragon kind of become Godrick as well. So it really does not help the whole identity crisis of these characters in the games. That they're pretty much all the same, but slightly different.
Great Godfrey, didst thou witness?
So pretty much all of... Oh, that's really cool pose. All of Godrick's motivations seem to be gaining the respect of his family, and more specifically his ancestors, and like the nobility of his lineage in line. So he seems like a pretty simple character for the most part, and he does monstrous things to achieve his goals, which I don't necessarily blame him for. If Marika tells all the demigod children to either make something of themselves or become sacrifices, I mean, you gotta get going while the going's hot, and apparently grafting is all the rage for him. So then, Ash King, you missed my dialogue a bit earlier when we saw Godrick. The Japanese is slightly different for his lines about the trueborn heir. So, the beginning, he's addressing the dragon directly, and he's saying, together, and so this is a little bit implied, we will become descendants, dragon. With your power, surely you will raise me to greater heights, essentially. So, he's not necessarily calling the dragon a trueborn heir on its own. My interpretation of those lines would be that together, the dragon will become a trueborn heir with Godrick, and they will reach greater heights together than individually. How many dragon heads you got? Maybe just the one. You wish there was a bear to witness? Well, that'll be in the DLC with the dragon bear incantation, right? Crunchy says, damn, this track slaps. It's kind of rich coming from Crunchy, because I know he's a pretty big hater of a lot of the songs. And Tor Pharaohthorn, welcome on in. Do I think he grabbed that dragon from Caelid? If so, why do you think he called it a true heir? So I just mentioned the true heir thing, so you should be good with that. I don't know if he would have gotten it from Caelid specifically, because you do have another dragon with Eggheel in the Lake of Eggheel, so the dragons can kind of exist in multiple locations, because you've also got Smaragd in Liurnia, etc., and a bunch of random ones in the Dragon Barrow for sure. And then Kyle said, it's making you rethink that maybe Godwyn was more Crucible-like as well. What if the group Mesmer's purging is Godwyn's? It's a good question, and I'm sure we will get a lot more about Mesmer and his role in the DLC. IE Not, nice to see you again. Yes, I also got your DM, Jordo. Thank you. And then I'm assuming MK might be asking Crunchy for his favorite track, and if not, maybe me. I really do like the second phase of Rykard. I like Moog's theme as far as like the Elden Ring songs, but I think my actual favorite is Caelid, which is surprising because it is a Kitamura track, despite how much Crunchy and I both collectively dunk on her. I love just how absolutely violent and unhinged Caelid sounds, because it sounds like a hornet's nest is buzzing in my ear, which just... chef's kiss for how, like, alien Caelid seems on a first visit. And Kyle says there's also 3 little dragons on the Moonlight Altar. Are they 3 dragons, or are they 1? Oh, yeah, these are actually really good examples of the other crises of identity, which this will be more ammo for Crunchy if you're paying attention. That, what's-her-face, Grail is essentially 5 mini dragons in a gigantic trench coat somehow, but also they're all indistinct beings, or all distinct beings rather. And Adula kind of has 3 clones up in the Moonlight Altar as well. Was Caelid always a place of rot? I don't think so, but I think Caelid was kind of always like reddish, depending on how you look at Radahn and his cutscene versus Melania. So the way that I look at Caelid is that I don't think anything north of the Dragon Barrow was technically affected by Scarlet Rot. What's this about Grail? Oh, Crunchy, do you not know this? So, alright. I'm kind of want to like take a detour right now, but it's easier to just deal with Godrick and go to it. So basically, if you kill all 5 of the mini dragons around Grail, I believe they each drop a dragon heart. And if you kill the 5th one, Grail itself will die. The issue is that Grail is so much easier to kill than the little baby dragons that nobody does it. And also, if you kill Grail, all of the 5 little dragons that it buffs dies with her. Eldon saw somebody saying that Fia equals Fortisax, but they never elaborated. And do we know what happened to Placidusax's missing heads? We do not. Some people think one of them could be in the Godskin duo fight on the wall, but I don't think it really matches up, to be honest. Alright, let's get our grafting on. And then, of course, beyond the Grail thing, Adula does have, like, shadow clones going on with its pseudo fights in the Moonlight Altar. So you have Adula outside of the Cathedral of Mana Celeste, and you also have like the 3 Adula type things off to the side. I whiffed that. I don't know how far this one goes. Oh, I only did it twice. I usually don't stand far enough away from him, but I feel kind of embarrassed to get hit by that. Uh-oh, the super delayed attacks. I tried rolling, I was too slow. Couldn't jump it. Imagine taking damage from Godrick. Damn it, I was hoping to posture break. That's the halfway mark, isn't it? Yep. What if Marika caused the shattering so her kids would kill each other, because then she would die? I think that is a possibility. That explains why there's 2 rune acquisitions when you kill her. You never knew that? Oh, okay, yeah, from like the main dragon and the little babies.
Truest of dragons.
Yeah, who was it? I think Scumnut had Grail get up and start attacking. That was wild.
Be thy strength.
Dad wants to know why the trolls betrayed the giants for religious reasons. He hopes it's touched on in the DLC. Alright. Like I said, now is where we bum rush. So do I roll into that attack? I don't understand it. I thought that would happen. So I can't visceral him, I think. Let me just be a little bit safe here. I think that might be my last juice. No, I think I have another one because we've been getting more seeds. I don't know this phase now that I think about it. Panic too much.
Didst thou witness?
That did a lot more damage than I expected. Okay. So Godrick actually got me for realsies. MK said, Millicent had 4 more sisters. You hope not everything divides into 5. Oh no, that means we've got like 4 more Melanas to deal with too. Mary, Maureen, Amy, and Pollyanna. Damn, Crunchy actually knows the names off the top of his head. I only remember Pollyanna because it's the name of an Earthbound song. Or I guess I should say a Mother song. I gotta remember that I need to jump on the second one. Leave the first alone, jump the second. Got it. What the hell is that? Oh yeah, I should look at the double axe, huh? Uh-oh. I'm out of stamina anyway. How do I dodge that? Like, unironically. It's kind of a rhetorical question, but if anybody in chat does know the answer, it's whatever. Sweet. Okay. Alright, I'm out of stamina. I need to back up. Uh-oh. I thought he did another one. Oh, I can recover. There we go. What move is this? Uh-oh, I'm in the worst spot. Alright, now I should have stamina. Get wrecked, son. No! I thought I'd be able to finish my attack first. Roll, 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 roll. Roll in. Should have attacked, really. Uh-oh. That was the grab. Okay. Phase 2, he has a grab. Good to know. I got breathed on wrong. He's got to be really low health, I think.
I am the Lord of all that is golden, and one day we'll return together to our home, bathed in rays of gold.
Demigod Felled. Godrick's Great Rune. Remembrance of the Grafted. Right, yeah. Hey, Global Sequence, nice to see you again. Yeah, I like to play HUDless for my lore throughs, just to give it that little bit of a cinematic edge to things. The hell is the fire coming from? It's from the dragon. The dragon. This little guy. Oh yeah, so I remember seeing like a theory, maybe this wasn't a theory, but just like a groundless, spaceless statement that if you attack this dragon in phase 1, it'll piss off Godrick and enrage him and put the dragon arm on his body earlier. That is not true. It would have been cool though, because that's kind of something you could do in Bloodborne. If you attack Father Gascoigne and then use the music box 3 times, he will transform after the 3rd music box usage into the werewolf version of himself. So you can essentially fight a phase 2 Gascoigne at full health, which is pretty cool. Alright, so we talked to Gestak earlier. We saw his shop.
What a pathetic excuse for a lord you were. Craven to the bone. Pushing me about like that. And after all that grafting, where did that get you? Look down on me, would ya? Godrick, you filthy slug. Feel it. Feel it. Feel my bloody wrath.
And so, I don't know if they fixed his shop at this point, because I ended up killing him my first playthrough after I like progressed through Liurnia, because I was like, this dude doesn't sell me his items anymore. I guess I need to get his bell bearing, and so I killed him, because his quest wasn't finished. Anyway.
Oh. Hello there. This weasel was... Godrick was always looking down on me. He got what he bloody deserved thanks to you. I tell you though, what goes around comes around. He had an ugly heart, an uglier countenance, and met the ugliest of ends, eh?
And the voice acting is superb. Okay, so they... Oh, his eyes actually opened, so they were just closed before. Huh. They're like blue. I did not know that. So Jordo asks, why does Placidusax reverse time for like the boss fight? I don't necessarily think time reverses. I think he's kind of in a stasis. I've wondered whether or not the essence of Placidusax might technically be in all of the Tarnished, and the way that we encounter Placidusax is through like an internal dream type thing. But for what it's worth, the ancient dragon scales do say that the scales of the dragons kind of they twist time, which could imply rewinding time or allowing it to move forward. I forget what movie it is, but the way that I like to talk about the Golden Order and the stasis that it imposes on the lands between is that it makes things become ageless, and perhaps the reason why they can be killed, the gods can be killed with the scales of Placidusax, is because it turns time back on for them. And there's some movie where like there's this immortal being who's lived for like thousands and thousands of years, and the way that they eventually get killed is that they get hit with something which allows time to affect them again, and all of those thousands of years just kind of pile on instantaneously, and so they age from like, 30 to 9,000 over the course of a couple seconds, so they become a shriveled up prune that just literally turns into dust before the main characters of that movie. I always forget which one it is, though. I don't think it's Big Trouble in Little China, but it's something like that kind of movie, I think. Yeah, the voice acting is great. You love Gestak. Nice fellow? Sure, I don't know if he's nice, but yeah. And Nightmare likes how so many of the non-tarnished NPCs are so long and distended in their undeath. And Many people have wondered whether or not the commoners are kind of related to the Zamorians or things of that nature, or if this is just like a demigod / Newman type body, and the Tarnished are something else entirely. It Chapter 2, Shang Tsung. Yeah, okay, Mortal Kombat. That's definitely it. And Deadman, nice to see you again. Dorian Gray does get killed in that way, in that terrible League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I was about to say that is not how the novel works, but okay. I have never actually seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It Chapter 2. I don't remember who dies super quickly that way in it. And the Nightmare thinks that these dudes look this way because they couldn't die. I think they all get shriveled up because they can't die, but I just don't know why these dudes' limbs are so long. League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is hilarious. You know, it's something that I've really wanted to watch for a long time. Maybe not really wanted, but it's something that's been on my radar for a long time, but it just kind of always fell off my radar, if that makes any sense. Especially with the Smash Mouth video kind of hyping up League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It's just kind of always passed me by. Because I think there was like another movie that came out around the same time that wasn't as interesting to me. Was it like Mystery Men? And League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and yeah, they just kind of fell to the wayside for me. Just watch Mr. Sunday's movies, hate on it? Okay. And then Eldon said, maybe it's just a gameplay thing with the long limbs and big NPCs. Well, for what it's worth, I mean, this dude does kind of resemble Renala in terms of proportions. Maybe Renala is a little bit better off, but we don't really get a good look at Marika. Radagon's arms are a lot more proportional, but generally, like, this type of NPC and their proportions are a little bit more unique even for FromSoft, rather than just being bigger than the player character. Methoda says long limbs like that happen to eunuchs. Could be related to how no one in the lands between reproduces anymore. Is that a thing? That kind of sounds made up. I've heard that eunuchs typically end up getting like fatter because they just kind of indulge themselves in other ways. And then Quasi Dingo asks, Gestak is a commoner, right? Yes. So at least he wears like the commoner garb and shares the same kind of stature as the commoners. However, we've also got like nobles and commoners. So I think like a commoner is still somewhat descended from Marika, if just super distantly. And yeah, I don't know. V-Limit says you believe that's a thing if they're castrated at a younger age because they have hormonal imbalances. All right, so this is going to be a little bit messed up. Maybe. No, hold on. I'm going to Google this real quick because this is going to bother me until I know more about it. Eunuch limb elongation. Skeletal effects of castration on 2 eunuchs in Ming, China. I don't like the sample size of 2, to be honest. This is more about the method that they did it. Physical effects of castration. Little research has been published about the skeletal consequences of castrations in humans. Blah, blah, blah. Although many reports describe the endocrinological effects of castration on lab animals. Castrated males lose function of their testicles and thus are sterile and have greatly reduced production of sex hormones, testosterone in particular. Testicular hormones strongly influence the development of tubular and flat bones, as well as the development of secondary sexual characteristics. Testicular deficiency causes a delay in the closure of epiphyses and the age at which they normally unite during puberty. The earlier that castration occurs, the longer the delay until epiphyseal closure. This delay results in disproportionately long bone lengths between those elements that fuse before puberty, which are not at all or less affected by castration, and the long bones whose epiphyses normally unite during puberty. Thus, Deprivation of male steroid hormones delays closure of epiphyses and prolongs the growth period, and also influences the maintenance of bones. That is wild. Thank you guys for sharing that. That is super cool to me. Yeah, the only thing I really knew about the physiology is that the church would often castrate young men so that way they would become castrato, which is essentially a way to have like the vocal qualities of a woman, but with the lung capacity of a man for singing. And this is kind of messed up, but it's been widely theorized that Michael Jackson's father tried to chemically castrate him as well for that reason. And so I don't know how exactly successful he was, but I mean, certainly Michael Jackson's voice is probably the closest thing into a modern time of what we would get from a castrato, perhaps. And Pazine says, as the castrato's bodies grew, his lack of testosterone meant that these epiphyses did not harden in the normal manner. Thus, the limbs of the castrati often grew unusually long, as did their ribs, from the Wikipedia about castratos. Yeah, you can listen to the last castrato singing online. And I have listened to that like a bunch of years ago. The thing is, like, it was recorded so long ago, and it was such an early time of audio recordings that the castrato himself was in his later years as far as like singing is concerned, and people said that he was never like a particularly gifted castrato to begin with, which is so messed up that he had to endure this kind of horrible castration and wasn't even considered like all that good for being subjected to such a practice to begin with. And if you listen to it, it does sound like off, I guess is the only way I could describe it. But I think part of it is because of like the audio quality of that recording, and as others have said, it was also like later on in his life, so past his singing prime. You genuinely hate this conversation? My condolences. And then Crunchy says the film Farinelli is pretty good. He was the biggest superstar in Europe at one point. Okay. So that was pretty much it with Gestalk and Godrick here. Oh yeah, I wanted to look at the buildings and whatnots. So we have another graveyard here, which is the same kind of graveyard you would get outside like the Churches of America, and a bunch of random places in Caelid, which isn't a big deal. Banished Knight weapons, not a big deal, because this seems like it could have been a previous Banished Knight fortress of some sort. So the keep/dungeon here is of a different style than the rest of Stormveil, maybe because it didn't get that facelift of having all of this gilded stuff added to it. And it seems to have what might be Erdtree reliefs on the front of it, and all of that. And it also looks like it's been impacted almost by like the claws of a dragon as a very common thought. We do have a dragon here, but this dragon is not large enough to make something like that. Another idea I've seen is that these could have been like passing meteors, potentially conjured by Radahn, because we're told that Godrick fled from Radahn and hid in his castle specifically, so I could see why someone would believe that. A lot of the ramparts around here have been like broken, but these gashes are going horizontal at times. So there's like a lot of visual incongruities with Stormveil, which doesn't make sense. This almost seems like it would be like a cannonball coming through, which would be more reminiscent of like a meteor, perhaps. But then this other stuff is just very suspect in general. So beyond that, we do have like the more modernized pillar of like the Lanedell soldier on top of this thing. But it also seems to be made of an entirely different stone type than the stuff around here, which would suggest that the dungeon is older. And also, the statues on the side of the dungeon are of a different stone quality as well, which suggests that they were placed in later. So a replacement of some iconography seems to be a pretty common theme throughout certain locations. Hey, Mr. Yada, nice to see you again. The boss arena is so cool visually, yeah. So as we come into the throne room, we've got our cool-ass depiction of Godfrey and Sirach. I have a lot to talk about that. We've got our pseudo-crucible statue guy, gal, whatever you want to call it, and the throne room itself. So here we get the depiction of the two lions, which we've seen elsewhere in Stormveil. And we've got the Elden Throne, essentially, which is kind of duplicated from what you see in Langdell next to Morgott. Maybe this one's a little bit bigger. But here you can also more clearly see the dudes on or in the Erdtree. And this is supposed to be taken from a real life relief. Not like verbatim one-to-one, but just like heavily inspired by something. I think like, was it the Tree of Jacob? I can't remember. I always forget. Now, my favorite thing about this, aside from the statue of Sarash and Godfrey, which I'll talk about in a moment, is if you look underneath the throne, you've got the sigil of a lion, which is a lot easier to see with the free cam since you can like just go underneath the chair. And you can't break it because this is a pacifist zone. So all you can do is really just jump on. But anyway, that's a lion. So my favorite thing, other than that little tidbit underneath the throne itself, is that you've got a depiction of Godfrey and Sarash, and if you just like take a quick glance at it, you're like, okay, it's Godfrey and Sarash. But what's actually going on is that there's this statue of Godfrey in front of a completely different statue of Sarash, and Sarash is bipedal and has 2 legs, so that's his foot, not his arm, as you might imagine. So I think you might be able to see his other foot. So Zalowski on Twitter actually has this asset like separated, and you could see the Sarash thing very clearly on its own. And unfortunately, with the way that I have my scene set up, I can't show that off because I am playing this game on my second monitor. So rip. Otherwise, I would share that with you guys. And then Ienot says, seriously though, for a land without death, the Lands Between has an awful lot of tombstones and graves. It really does. And I feel like a lot of this stuff doesn't work out, even if you, like, no matter when you think death was removed. Because I was thinking a bit more recently in the past, like, couple months or whatever it was, that it doesn't make sense that there's a bunch of graveyards above ground that memorialize the Shattering, because Destined Death should have already been removed and they weren't given Erdtree burial. So maybe that's supposed to signify that Erdtree burial no longer worked after the Shattering specifically. Because I've wondered whether or not Erdtree burial kind of failed in its purpose after Radagon became Elden Lord. But I don't really know if that's true or not. The thing is, we don't really have any confirmation of a truly pre-Shattering summon. Ashavor? Not Ashavor, what are they called? Spirit summon. Except for potentially Black Knife Tish. But she could have been like mortally wounded and died before the Shattering. But she may have not received Erdtree burial until after the Shattering, and it just like failed. So I don't really know what to make of all that. But definitely worth sharing. So that's pretty much it with the throne room. Now we get to go meet our cool ghost friend. And then Ash King says the lions on the floor also appear in Morgott's arena in Langdell. Yeah, and they also show up in the fortified manor, I believe. So we get our first Shabibi grape. Elden read a neat theory about Stormveil's curse literally being carried on the winds, and Nefeli gets rid of it. Interesting. I'd like to hear more. Maybe Stormveil got into a fight with Farum and then blew them away. Yeah, I think there's a possibility that there could have been multiple fights or wars sieged on Langdell. Or not Langdell, well, that too, but Stormveil Castle specifically. And I think there's a really strong chance this could have been where Sarash ruled initially. And he may have been a vassal of Farum Azula. I don't know. What do I think about the nature of the Grape Spirit? Who is he? He's a commoner. So yeah, all of these little ghost dudes do kind of like exist next to mycelium, like spectral mycelium, which is just a fancy way of saying mushrooms. So let's get Zyostorm on the line here. Maiden, dear maiden, where are you? Please, take my grapes. So the first time you read this, you're like, what the hell is he making wine? What are with these grapes? Let's check them out. Our first Shabriri grape says, it's a yellowing, oozing eyeball of the infirm. The surface is shriveled and the inside is squishy, not unlike a large, overly ripe grape. Give to the blind maiden to guide her to the distant light. So Shabriri grapes essentially shows that these are eyes through things that we learn later on. I don't remember what this ghost just said, but I have wondered whether or not the depiction of the Shabriri grape is kind of similar enough to Roa to suggest a connection. Not like a literal one-to-one connection, but just there's something going on with all that, which is a little bit strange. So now that we've already completed Hayata's quest line, once we come out here to Liurnia, we will find... Arena. We will find Hayata next to this rock by the side of Grace. Right over there. So we get her dialogue, and then after I talk to Hayata, I might go back to the Frenzy Flame Village, because I didn't fully check that out.
Hello? Is someone there? My name is Hayata, and I'm journeying in search of the distant light. If I might be so bold as to ask, would you donate any Shabriri grapes in your possession to me? My eyesight has been weak since birth, you see. I can't tell which way I'm supposed to go next, but when I eat one of those grapes, I can feel a distant light in the back of my eyes. It will lead me to my true duty as a finger maiden.
So, more recently, this line has intrigued me because Hayata needs to eat eyes, essentially, to be able to see a distant light, which is tied to grace and duty, most specifically. Maybe not grace, but duty, at the very least, and guidance. So, distant light guides her to her duty. Does that have any kind of bearing or relation to how the Tarnished are given the guidance of grace, which is supposed to reside in the eyes, and they're guided to their duties? Maybe. Hey, see, thanks for the pun of the eye identity crisis, indeed. Buster Suds, you fell again because the snowfields are brutal? Rip. Wiscoism. I almost said that as Wisconsin. Nice to see you again. Who's given her a grape if she was just born? So, that does call into question the veracity of Hayata's claims that she could just be trying to mislead the Tarnished for her own purposes. It's possible that Hayata is Arena and may have been force-fed grapes by the Misbegotten or something else. So there's a lot of reasons to be skeptical of everything relating to the Frenzied Flame. And I think it's very on the nose that when we talk to Hayata, she's telling us like how she'll end suffering and kind of that the one great is a good thing and we should all become one again. However, she's just literally sitting in a pile of corpses and skeletons. So, that's kind of well regarded as a universal symbol of things not quite being on the up and up when you're trying to be on the same side as somebody literally sitting on a pile of skulls, I guess, a mountain of skulls. Yeah, and Crunchy says Arena's corpse is still there, or is it? Is it a corpse, or is it like a projection? I say this stuff half facetiously, but I am somewhat serious, because we have this really weird thing going on where whenever Hayata is walking around, you can double check Arena's corpse and it'll have the dialogue that says she is dead. But if Hayata is ever killed for any reason, that dialogue prompt disappears. And then we also have that weird situation going on with Yura, who becomes Shabriri, who is able to be fought and summoned against Godfrey. So if these things are projections, they're physical enough to be able to interact with the world, which is something. V-Limit says, Yura's corpse you think disappears, right? But not Arena's. So yes, Yura's corpse in the Second Church of Marika will disappear, but Arena's corpse stays there the entire game. This just in, people resting on corpses is sus. Yeah. Elden's view is that the Frenzied Flame is honest and reveals some truths, but only has an incomplete view of things, since despair defines its actions. I kind of agree with you, but coming from a distant, or not a distant, a different perspective, and that I think, hold on. I think the Frenzied Flame tells what I would say are half-truths to the Tarnished, and that we probably don't have the full scope of what it's trying to actually accomplish. And so it might just be using ourselves as patsies that are willing participants in its schemes, if it can have us. C gets down the rabbit hole with this stuff, and then you remember the already dead guy from Bloodborne, and then you feel alright. Glad to hear it. Nightmare Maniac can't get over considering the Frenzied Flame is pure malice and evil. The amount of people you've seen claim it's their favorite ending, even though it kills Torrent. So I think there's a couple ways we could potentially break down what's going on with the Frenzied Flame. So I think potentially on the outside, the Three Fingers themselves may seem chaotic and or impure, but there's probably a bit of order in the method of that madness there that I don't want to touch on specifically. But I think it's possible that Creary himself might be an incarnation of chaos that might at its core be more chaotic than the Three Fingers themselves. So I think the Three Fingers might have a more pure, noble purpose in wanting to return to oneness and oblivion, but Creary might just be using the Three Fingers for its own end to sow chaos as it sees fit, because it just wants to see the world burn, which is essentially what the Frenzied Flame does. But now that I've said that, I should just, reiterate that that's just kind of speculation. I don't fully believe that, but I could just kind of see it working in the grand tapestry of the lore there. Yeah, and as Paisan says, the most effective lives are told in half-truths. Exactly. And Mothcrab, nice to see you again. It's like any death cult, the end goal doesn't make sense, but there's some being at the top who somehow benefits from it. Yeah. We're overanalyzing just killing everything, guys. Well, I think it's fair to overanalyze killing things because Arena has technically already been killed. Yura kind of gets killed when he becomes Creary, so it's definitely on brand for the game. Yeah, and Creary alludes to the fact that his body is Yura's quote-unquote vessel, indeed. And I don't know if Crunchy caught me on the stream when I was looking at your most recent video, well, not the most recent, your second most recent video about the idea of destined death kind of going into a second life of that being and it being like reborn that way. I thought it is a very compelling idea for many reasons. So I don't know how I feel about that because we hear of Creary's existence long before we actually meet him in certain item descriptions, but I like the idea nonetheless. All right, Eldon, you have a good night, and thanks for dropping in as always. Oh, okay, I see what you mean, Nightmare. We're overanalyzing just killing everything with the Frenzy Flame. I think it's fair to overanalyze stuff because it does have like cosmological consequences, but nonetheless, I digress. And then Inigo thinks the Frenzied Flame is the equivalent of the biblical flood of God wiping the earth clean to remove the mistakes of man and start over. So that's kind of a positive spin on it, but for what it's worth, because Melina says there will be no more births, the implication would be that this isn't exactly like linking the fire or letting the fire fade and that things will repopulate again anew. So maybe it really will be a world of anti-life and nothingness once the Frenzied Flame accomplishes its mission. Alright, so let's give Hayeta our Shibibi grape. No, let's not give the grape because her dialogue slightly alters.
Hello? Is someone there? Would you donate any Creary grapes in your possession to me? I'm on a pilgrimage, and when I eat one of those grapes, I can feel the light in the back of my eyes. Oh, many thanks to you. Now I can feel the distant light once more. You are most kind indeed. May the blessing of the fingers be upon you.
As you wish, the Princess Bride gesture here.
You are most kind. May the blessing of the finger...
Alright, so that's pretty much it for Hayeta. Do I have this shown off in a video? I don't think I do. One of the more interesting things to me about Hayeta and Arena is that they can kill you with their rejection incantation or whatever they use. But you need to be at like 6 HP for them to be able to kill you and retaliate with their attacks. I do have footage of that. It's just kind of funny. So now that we've given her the grape, let's go ahead and rest. She should disappear. And let's go back to the Frenzy Flame Village over on Weeping Pen. Skibbity grape? Oh no. When does Bach get here? I don't remember Bach going to that side of Grace. I know he will pop up by the Ray Lucarian East Gate. I don't really remember all of Bach's triggers, to be honest. I believe we can get to the Frenzied Flame Village this way. Oh yeah, and I never grabbed the Shield of the Guilty. Maybe I should look up where that is. I thought it was in the Watchtower, but apparently it's not. I know it's somewhere over here. Not like here, literally, but anyway. He does show up there? You guys might be right about that. Did I ever get this? I think I would have, but I could also imagine me getting distracted by the golem. Okay. Bach can bug out also. I think I have a lot of issues with Bach's quest because of the way I typically go through the Lands Between now. Which I shouldn't have had any issues with this run. But yeah, my first run, I kind of booked it to Liurnia pretty early after Caelid. It was pretty rough. Alright, so we get some more Roas and Ridley flowers. Oh yeah, and part of the reason why I think minor Erdtrees were sprouted during the Age of Abundance is because things like Erdleaf flowers were kind of grown along with the falling leaves of the ancient Erdtree, as it says. And I feel like that period of abundance lines up with the tears coming off the minor Erdtrees. But that's just one of many reasons. So we got our first Eye of Yellow. We pissed off the rats, I think, already. Some more root resins. So as we come into the Frenzied Flame Village, surprisingly enough, we see people afflicted by the Frenzied Flame. It's crazy, man, I know. And from this we get the Yellow Ember. And I think the Yellow Embers make the eye connection a bit clearer. Let's go get our Side of Grace, wherever it is. Stuttering. This is too far, isn't it? Nope, okay. He appears there if I actually rested that grace. Okay, let's go back to Liurnia real quick and then talk to Bach. Paisan said Bach didn't even exist in your first playthrough. I actually saw a friend playing it. They were streaming the game, and then Bach started talking at them, and I was like, what the hell is this? I've explored all of Limgrave, and this didn't happen to me. It's because of the way that I went through Limgrave. I went to the gate first, and then I think I went to this Side of Grace, but then I teleported like down here, and then I like went up this way, and then I came back this way, and I didn't really have another reason to come like here specifically, so I missed Bach because there's nothing there from like the eye level that seems interesting enough to go where Bach is. All right, jump scare.
Good to see you, Master. Do you remember me? Bok, the demi-human. You helped me before and retrieved my sewing needle. Please, Master, allow me to serve you as your seamster. I can't make nothing from scratch, but I'm happy to make adjustments to your garments.
Don't tell me.
Master, I was wondering, do you ever make adjustments to your garb yourself? I would, well, rather you let me do the job when possible, please. I don't ask anything in return, you know, and, well, I am your personal seamster after all.
His goofy face when he's like this cracks me up. So yeah, his eyes aren't necessarily different colors. They're just like one eye closes more in certain parts of his speech. So you can have him alter things. Alright, so the descriptions are the same of this. Yeah, so some of the altered armors do have slightly different descriptions, but they're mostly not important. So, you never got the chance to tell Baki is beautiful, you monster. Alright, so Mothcrab, when we were talking about the minor Erdtrees, was asking, wouldn't there be tons of corpses underneath the minor Erdtrees? I think the answer is generally yes, because when you go into the catacombs, which are supposed to be built next to the roots of the Erdtree, essentially, you see corpses down there. But more specifically, when you go to most minor Erdtrees, you'll find the pots that potentially contain the remains of the dead within them that might be broken open by the Erdtree avatars. So I do think that the minor Erdtrees are still fertilized with the dead. And then somebody was asking about the sap of the Erdtree. C was asking, does the dew actually come from the Erdtree like sap? Or does it just collect in the Erdtree like actual dew? I don't really know, because we have depictions on like the Blessed Dew Talisman, which suggests it's kind of like what's going on with the DLC, where there might be a cavity which the dew is collected from. We've got a ton of basins and random locations throughout the lands between, which suggests that it might like roll off of the Erdtree as though it's like literal dew or condensation, something like that. But we also have some basins in really random spots where there's no minor Erdtrees at all, like in Caelid, next to the Guardian Lion, that's next to the Deathbird on the east side of the map when you're heading towards Redmane Castle from Celia. So yeah, I don't know. What if Elden Ring is literally just Naruto? Who gets the Sharingan and all the other cool Gon? The eyes. Actually, it does kind of work that way, huh? What if the planet is just meant to spread these trees till it can be harvested? That is a popular idea, to be fair. Yeah, him closing the one eye threw off. Yeah, don't worry about that. It's pretty easy to make that assumption. Anything of note about the translation of dew? Yes, so this is something that I've been touching on as we've gone through the playthrough here, that pretty much all of the references to Crimson Tears and the sap of the Erdtree and the dew of the Erdtree all reference the same character in Japanese, Shizuku, which means like droplets, a tear, essentially, like the shape of a tear. And for what it's worth, this character isn't necessarily used only in tandem with like the Erdtree stuff. It also does show up in the quote-unquote primordial drop of dew for the Albinorix. And something else has it, which isn't too important. Like it was just something random. But anyway, like the big takeaway is like the tears, the sap, and the amber are all the same. So pretty much crystallized tears are Erdtree sap that's been hardened, as kind of hinted at with the amber medallions. Erdtree's old sap becomes amber. The Erdtree's old tear becomes amber, treasured as the most precious of jewels. Blah, 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 etc., etc. Inigo asks, what are the lands between? They're between dreams. Who knows? C says, okay, so sap is a distinct term used separately from dew. Not in the Japanese. They're all the same. So the Erdtree's old tears becomes amber is the exact same thing as the blessed tear medallion, which is the exact same thing as the flasks of crimson and cerulean tears. And Monkzation, nice to see you. Welcome on in. Can you give you a random build, please? You're doing a video, some guy said naked, but you did that. So I'll just give you my build where I'm just doing a Confessor right now. So at higher difficulties, you'll be able to get access to the White Shadow Lure as your Ash of War, which is good for like humanoid and beast type enemies, but it'll be trash against bosses. And Clown Scum, you have a good night. Flasks taste like maple syrup? Essentially, yeah. Although it'll be Erdtree syrup. Because maple is a type of tree, and Erd is a type of tree. So it'll taste like Erd syrup. Oh yeah, we just talked to Bach.
Bok, this seems ready to make a...
Oh yeah, we killed Godrick, so we could get our benediction as well as all that other stuff. You know what, I'm going to alter the twinned armor just for the heck of it to see if it'll affect...
Oh, go in so... please.
If it'll affect the D brother down there.
Bok, this ready to make
Alright, so Bach says nothing else. So I'm going to teleport back to the Frenzied Flame Village. We'll clear that area out. And then... I guess this is technically the Ailing Village, my mistake. We will then go to the Divine Tower. And up to Liurnia. Sweet. So I have enough endurance for now, I think. Which I'm going to regret. I'm always going to say I'm out of stam because I can't see what I'm doing on about this playthrough. It's like my motto. Flight Pinion. Okay. Doomfist, welcome on in. The Wing Scythe might actually be important after the lore and the previews. Alright, please try to keep all of the non-trailer information contained and out of the stream for everybody who's trying to stay blind about that stuff. So like what you shared isn't necessarily like a big spoiler, and I'm not like upset about it, but just like for future reference. Yeah, so Crunchy can rejoice if the Winged Scythe, his white whale of lore, ends up existing after all. So in the Ailing Village, we've got Frenzied Rats, which are pretty cool. 4 Arteria leaves, so I guess like blood must have been spilled there. And all that stuff. Let's do the little ones. That's not what I meant. I didn't meant it. I don't know if the rats can be healed by the Frenzied Flame stuff. I'm not inclined to check right now, to be honest. Oh yeah, so I was supposed to check out the Ember thing. Good thing I put my lantern on. So yeah, their eyes are just like fully yellow, but not like golden, I guess. So in this church here, which is unnamed, we've got a statue of Merica. We get the Flame of Frenzy. And a nice little sacred tier. I really do like how menacing the Frenzy Flame enemies look. I guess I don't have any Frenzy Flame stones, huh? I was going to try to show off how these things get healed. It's not a big deal. Yellow Ember. Is an ember taken from the eye socket of a corpse, material used for crafting items. A sign that the deceased suffered from the flame of frenzy. This grape has ripened and burst. So, yeah. Creary grapes come from eyes. And then eventually we'll tell Hayata that the grapes are eyes and she'll freak out. So we also got the flame of frenzy. But I think that's pretty much it as far as treasure is concerned here. I never really thought about why these commoners are being burned. Oh, no. We do have an item here. We've got, like, the Frenzy Flame Shield or whatever it is. Or is this the Horse Shield? Flame Crest Wooden Shield. Okay. So let's go ahead and teleport to Liurnia, where it's slightly safer. Or not Liurnia, but the Divine Tower. And then Liurnia. The church does have a name? Okay, I just can't remember what it is. Kalu Baptismal Church. True story. And because it says like it's a baptismal church, that implies that they would have been bathed in the tears of the Erdtree or something along those lines. Thank you. Do I think they taste like spicy grapes? I'm not sure. Burnt grapes or raisins? I don't think they would taste burned. It's like that old Halloween thing, peeling grapes' eyes, yeah. Alright. Was I going to look up the Frenzied Flame incantation? The Flame of Frenzy, incantation originating from the maddening Three Fingers, causes the yellow flame of frenzy to burst forth from the caster's eyes. Charging increases the range of the burst. The Flame of Frenzy deals damage and causes buildup of madness. This incantation also causes buildup of madness in the caster and is only effective against Tarnished. So this kind of is one way to check whether an NPC is a Tarnished NPC or if they are other. And this isn't always like the best test one can do because Vike can't be frenzied and he can't be death blighted for whatever reason, despite being very clearly demarcated as a Tarnished. But you can use this against certain enemies like Gideon. I think he's frenziable. But right, what else do we pick up? Oh yeah, the shield. A tall, medium-sized wooden shield, light for its size and easy to handle, carried by soldiers of the village that is afflicted by frenzy. The yellow flame is the symbol of the affliction, serving as a warning to those who might approach the village. And it has parry as a skill. So, as far as like the Flame of Frenzy is concerned, I have wondered whether or not the reason it came into being is because people started cannibalizing each other in the Wandering Caravan. Because for whatever reason, the Frenzied Flame folk in Mount Gelmir are eating the dead, which seems to be a practice of cannibalism. Damn, it's got some range. Methoda thinks it'd be a strong cinnamon flavor. The cinnamon challenge, just in a new form. I rolled too soon. We're gonna keep running. Pretty confident there's nothing that way. Alright. I didn't even need to heal, but can I help it? Vike's just built different. Yeah, exactly. It's crazy that they introduced the concept of the Three Fingers so early. I love it. I wish we had more like towns and villages like the Ailing village. Maybe not exactly like it, but just in general. So now that we've defeated Godrick and gotten his fake Great Rune, we can enter this door. The Flame of Frenzy would have a completely different connotation if it was tied to the nose rather than the eyes. Because it'd be eating Creary boogers. What fruit would go along with noses? Because grapes are really good for eyes. Paisan says, is there a direct connection between frenzy and cannibalism? Multiple occurrences? So it seems Edgar might be eating raw meat dumplings and he kind of goes mad. But it's a little bit unclear if he's a follower of the Frenzied Flame because he's still able to be frenzied and death blighted and all that. So I think there's like a two-part theory to it in that people go mad from eating bodies of the dead. But they aren't necessarily Frenzied Flame followers, because when you drop the Frenzy Flame Stone next to the guys on Mount Gelmir, the knights, they will not actually get the healing aura, but they still have like the mad Frenzy Flame eyes. And that could just be dev oversight for all things considered. And then Wisco asks, are the Divine Towers holding up the Baldachin of the Shadowlands? I'm not sure. I know that's a very popular thought, and it does make a lot of sense, especially if one thinks that the Shadowland would be in the middle of the Lands Between. But, I don't know. Because the veil seems a little bit uneven than like the kind of 6 equidistant towers that we see here. They should be turning into Wendigos. Kind of, yeah. Color seems to have a crazy importance in Elden Ring. What if the Frenzied Flame is the color of corrupted gold of some kind? I'm not sure if it would be corrupted or not, but yellow seems to be distinct from gold somehow, because it seems to be able to burn gold because of like what happens with Torrent's Spectral Steed Whistle. Alright, so setting all that aside, let's go ahead and check out Godrick's Great Rune. Godrick's Great Rune, devoid of any benediction. The Great Rune of the Shardbearer Godrick, devoid of any benediction. Seek the Divine Tower of Limgrave, which stands beyond the Great Bridge from Stormveil Castle. So I have to read this now, because as soon as I grab this, it will end. We'll get a different item. Restore the power of the Great Rune. So we've got a kind of 2 fingers here, which seem to be dead, petrified, whatever you want to call it. If you look at the inside of them, they seem to be made of wood, kind of like trees. I wondered whether or not we have 2 fingers as like the crossed tree design in the first trailer of Elden Ring. Shadow of the Erdtree DLC preview thing, but these don't have any fingernails, so maybe they're not real fingers. That's a joke. Anyway, it's really weird that all of the 2 fingers here are dead in the Lands Between, yet Ranni's are alive. Maybe because she didn't have a rune. I've wondered whether or not these individual runes came from the 2 fingers, but that might not work the best depending on how one feels about the twin runes being all connected to one set of fingers as well. So, aside from like the bark-like structure of the outer layer of the 2 fingers, we've also got a bunch of silvery hair growing off of them, and they kind of remind me of Skips from regular show. Anyway, with that being said, let's restore the power of the Great Rune. I really do like the fake 2D effect that just rotates with the camera. And as you look at the actual benediction of the Great Rune, you can kind of see the shapes of letters of what would be runes on them. But they're not fully formed because they've all been shattered. Great Rune restored. New Godrick's Great Rune. Oh yeah, and I should probably equip it sometime, huh? A Great Rune of the Shardbearer Godrick. Its blessing raises all attributes. This Great Rune is known as the Anchor Ring. Found in the center of the Elden Ring. The first demigods were the Elden Lord Godfrey and his offspring, the Golden Lineage. So, because we're told that Godwyn is a scion of the Golden Bough, and that Godfrey and his offspring were the Golden Lineage, this leads me to believe that Godwyn and Godfrey are related, and I don't know why people would think that he would be somebody else's son, but setting all that aside, the thing which bothers me about this description is that if Godfrey was the first of the demigods, and Nia tells us the demigods are each and all the direct offspring of Queen Marika, does more need to be said? Now, I say that kind of as a joke because I think contextually it's pretty clear that Ania is referencing the Shardbearers as the demigod offspring more specifically, rather than Godfrey. But it is interesting that both Godfrey is considered a demigod and that the Carian children became demigod stepchildren through Radagon's marriage to Marika, according to Rykard and Radahn's Great Rune, which is just very annoying. Because I feel like they should be demigods because of like Radagon's parentage, but maybe it's just like a legal definition rather than a physical one. So let's go back to Liurnia here. And then Wisco says, Quelaag seems to speculate that these aren't real fingers. I think we're going to get more in the DLC about them, so I'll just kind of like remain on the fence for now. Mothcrab was going to say, what if the other demigods did their fingers in, but Ranni went to such a length to do so that it can't be surely. Yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, and like one of the other things that I meant to mention was that we're told that the finger readers are supposed to live lives eternal, but in Lane Dell, we've got a bunch of finger readers that are dead, and we don't know if they were killed by like the Black Knife Assassin there. So we do have some like weird inconsistencies in the text that need a little bit of a elucidation for us to fully understand. Yes, Godfrey was technically a demigod. Buster's seen this before? Yeah. Alright, see, thanks for dropping in. Yeah, we're about to end the stream as well since we just finished off Stormveil and are pretty much about to start Liurnia. So yeah, that's pretty much what we'll do at the beginning of next stream chat. I'll probably just beeline it to the Church of Irith and talk to Topes, since this is pretty much a good time to end the stream here. Alright, so as always, we'll be... Oh, wait, no, maybe not as always. So tomorrow, I might be a little bit late for the stream. I typically try to start every day at 10 p.m., but I have something going on. But hopefully, I'll be able to finish and get here on time. So, right. All of you who've been chatting, thank you so much. All of you who've been lurking, I appreciate it. And for everyone who watches the VOD, thank you. We'll be going live again, hopefully sometime tomorrow. Stand by for that as it happens. So until next time, take care, stay safe. Last Protagonist out.